Chapter 364. After being reminded by Zhang Qilin, they all found familiar comrades and began to shrink from the long front line. It seemed that they were surrounded by the disciples of various sects, but in fact, from the originally evenly matched situation, it suddenly became a situation where 4 or 5 guards of Beijing faced one disciple of a sect at the same time. There were many disciples of various sects, but the field was blocked by the guards of the northern frontier. No matter how many people there were, they could only squeeze outside one by one. The pressure on the guards of the northern frontier was greatly reduced, and they could even defeat the disciples of various sects without spending much energy. Swoosh! A signal flare shot up. It suddenly exploded hundreds of meters high in the sky. In broad daylight, it actually lit up a gorgeous firework in the shape of a long red saber. This was a signal flare specially made by the guards of Beijing, which was specially used to call for reinforcements. It could be seen clearly within hundreds of miles, and the color of the signal flare was different depending on the opponent. For example, the disciples of various sects, who needed a large number of reinforcements, were the second most dangerous red saber. In addition, there were also white saber, who was used for warning, green saber, who needed small-scale reinforcements, blue saber, who needed the support of hundreds of people, and black saber, who was the most dangerous black saber, who even needed all the guards of the northern frontier to come out in full force. All of these were made step by step under the close discussion of Luo Su, Li Zhongsheng, and others. It's bad. Seeing the signal flare explode, Master Qiuwen's expression suddenly became interesting. Lin Yuan was determined to slap the face of the Freedom Yard today, and someone suddenly fanned the flames. How could he not understand that the words just now were not because someone was indignant, but because Lin Yuan had long planned this play? In a moment, the guards of the northern frontier, who had been stationed nearby, would swarm here. At that time, all the disciples of various sects present would be killed, and perhaps even the Freedom Yard would be killed. How cruel! Master Qiuwen waved his hand angrily and suppressed his desire to kill Lin Yuan again. With a pale face, he raised his voice and said, "Disciples of the Freedom Yard, enter the inner temple immediately. You are not allowed to participate in this armed fight. Violators will be expelled from the sect." Compared to the problem of face, Master Qiuwen still prioritized the inheritance of the sect. Even if his current actions would cause the Freedom Yard to lose face, and even if some of the more radical disciples would directly betray the Freedom Yard, at least in the play that Lin Yuan had designed, he had successfully removed the Freedom Yard from the situation. When Ku Hai and Ku Xian saw that Master Qiuwen had come out of seclusion, they didn't want to care about these worldly affairs. However, when they saw how shameless Master Qiuwen was, they quickly figured out what was going on. They also began to call the disciples of the Freedom Courtyard to quickly enter the inner temple. They also ordered the disciples of the Freedom Courtyard to quickly enter the inner temple. They also ordered the disciples of the Freedom Courtyard to quickly enter the inner temple. They also ordered the disciples of the Freedom Courtyard to quickly enter the inner temple. They also ordered the disciples of the Freedom Courtyard to quickly enter the inner temple. Although after this matter was over, he would still be humiliated by Lin Yuan, but he still had to maintain enough face. At the very least, he could not allow Lin Yuan to carry out another great purge and drag the Freedom Yard into this quagmire. More and more soldiers of the Northern Frontier Guard Army joined the battle. Standing on the wall watching the battle, Master Qiuwen felt more and more bitter in his heart. Although he had expected this, but it had really happened, and he still felt his face burning. Originally, he had wanted to make use of Lin Yuan's relationship with Lei Fan to persuade Lin Yuan to be merciful this time. But in the end, Lin Yuan did not even put him in his eyes at all. Otherwise, he would not have prepared a spy to fan the flames, and even stationed a large number of the Northern Frontier Guard Army near the Freedom Yard. He had still wanted to ask Lin Yuan to give him some face. But in the end, Lin Yuan did not even take him seriously. The battle lasted for a full hour. The front yard that the Freedom Yard was proud of, which was slowly carved out of a large piece of white jade, was completely dyed red with blood. Other than a few of the Northern Frontier Guard Army who had been maimed and killed, almost all of the sect disciples who had participated in this battle, other than those who had long taken off their sect's uniform and attacked their own people, had died in this battle. Even some of the rather famous sect leaders and elders had not escaped. Of course, there were also a few sect leaders of the Heavenly Dipper realm who had long seen that something was wrong, and had directly abandoned their weapons and surrendered, allowing the Northern Frontier Guard army to take them down. They wanted to use their family's property to exchange for a way out. Otherwise, the casualties of the Northern Frontier Guard army would have been even greater. But that was all, because the victor of this battle had already been decided from the moment the script began. Standing on the wall, Master Kewin's face was cold as he said in a cold voice, "Lord Dragon King, the criminals have been killed on the spot, but you still do not leave. What is the meaning of this? Do you not even want to let go of the Freedom Yard?" Master Kewin had already been slapped in the face several times. At this moment, even if he had an indifferent temperament, he really could not bring out a good face to face Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan slowly landed on the ground, shrunk his body, and said with a smile, "Master, you misunderstood me. Although I am a demonic beast, I am also fascinated by the Buddhism sect. If it was not necessary, why would I kill in the Buddhism sect? It's just that these sect disciples openly rebelled and attacked the Northern Frontier Guard army. If they are not uprooted, sooner or later they will become a big stain on the Northern Frontier. Master, what do you think?" The corner of Master Kewin's mouth twitched slightly. In his heart, he thought, "You little bastard, you are very evil." All the major sects had come to seek the protection of the Freedom Courtyard. Of course, the Freedom Courtyard did not have such a large space, so only a portion of the disciples had gathered there. There were still many disciples hiding within the range of the Freedom Courtyard. This black snake was clearly someone who did not want to waste the effort to find it, and wanted the Freedom Courtyard to be a traitor. Alright, this little monk also hates these lawless people of the pugilistic world. I'll go and instruct my disciples to assist the lords in capturing those bandits hiding near my Freedom Courtyard. Master Kewin had already lost all his face, and it was not a big deal to lose it again. Even if he wanted to tear Lin Yuan apart, he had to make a concession at this moment. He threw the Freedom Yard's face to the ground and trampled on it. However, after Master Kewin's words, the Northern Frontier Guard army in the front yards still did not have the slightest intention to leave. Instead, they all looked at Master Kewin with ferocious smiles. What is the meaning of this? Seeing that Lin Yuan was still unforgiving, Master Kewin could no longer hold back and asked loudly. Lin Yuan shook his head and said lazily, "Master Kewin, you are so forgetful. There are so many thieves hiding in the Freedom Yard, and there may be one or two in the inner temple. For everyone's safety, please open the gate of the inner temple and let my people in to search. Then everyone will be at ease, right?" Chapter 365. As Lin Yuan's words fell, the cultivators of the Repose Court, including Master Kewin, felt as if a basin of ice water had been poured over them. Their bodies began to tremble uncontrollably. Going too far. These words appeared in the minds of all the disciples of the Repose Court at the same time. Their eyes were like sharp blades as they stared at Lin Yuan, wanting nothing more than to rip a piece of flesh from Lin Yuan's body. What sort of place was the Repose Court's inner temple? It was the burial ground of many of the Repose Court's predecessors, the place where the experts of the Repose Court cultivated, and also the place where the Repose Court's cultivation methods and various resources were accumulated. Not to mention Lin Yuan and the others who harbored enmity toward the Repose Court, even the disciples of the Repose Court would not be able to easily enter the inner temple if they did not have a certain level of qualifications and were on the northern frontier. Now, with just a few words from Lin Yuan, the Repose Court wanted to open the gates of the inner temple and let them in to search. What was the difference between this method and having the disciples of the Repose Court take off all their clothes in public? Zhang Qilin, who had just fought a battle, wiped the blood from his face and stepped forward. He loudly said, "Masters, you must think carefully. If you do not let us search the Repose Court today, it will be fine if these evil creatures who dared to openly attack the guards of the northern frontier are all cleaned up. But if one or two of them suddenly appear, I fear that you will not be able to wash away your suspicions. Extremely shameless." The cultivators of the Repose Court trembled even more violently. These guards of the northern frontier had not come to investigate the remnants of the sections. They simply wanted to investigate the wealth of the Repose Court. Even humiliating the Repose Court was only a secondary reason. But even though they knew of these people's wild ambitions, none of them dared to stand out and say a word of justice. The smell of blood in the front courtyard had yet to dissipate. Even from a distance, they could smell the choking smell of blood in the air. And at this moment, the guards of the northern frontier standing in the sea of blood and corpses and shouting were all like the sky demon described in the Buddhist scriptures. No, they were even more detestable than the sky demon. Since the masters are not willing to do this, then forget it. Lin Yuan suddenly turned around and said with a cold smile, "After all, I still have to give face to Master Kyuan. This king will make things easier for Master Kyuan. I won't search the Freedom Courtyard. Let's go." Lin Yuan emphasized the words, "Do me a favor," as if he was afraid that Master Kyuan would not be able to hear the mockery in Lin Yuan's words. Master Kyuan was furious to the extreme, but not only did he not fly into a rage, he even calmed down. His gaze fell on Lin Yuan as he began to think to himself. This black snake had forced the Freedom Courtyard again and again, even now using words to fan the flames. His goal was to cause conflict between the Freedom Courtyard and him, so that the Freedom Courtyard would be included in the ranks of traitors. But Master Kyuan truly could not understand. The Freedom Courtyard was a sect guarded by 3 Void Realm experts. Even if this black snake's battle prowess could not be measured by cultivation, he had only just entered the Mountain Lord realm. Where did he find the courage to clamor with him? Could it be that? What else did this black snake rely on? After pondering for a moment, Master Kyuan suddenly smiled bitterly and said, "Your Excellency Dragon King, please stop. I've thought about it for a moment. These ambitious people dared to do such a disrespectful thing because they have some tricks up their sleeves. Although Freedom Yard is a little famous in the northern region, I dare not say that I'm the leader. Perhaps there are some evil creatures hiding in the inner temple by some unscrupulous means. Please enter the temple and search. In this way, everyone can deal with the matter at hand with peace of mind." His face was already swollen from the slap, so this last trembling was not a big deal. Even though Master Kyuan did not know what the black snake was relying on, he was sure that the black snake would not let it go so easily. If he did not shut the black snake's mouth today, the Freedom Courtyard would not be able to escape from his evil claws in the future. Even if the black snake wanted to completely destroy the Freedom Courtyard, he did not have the ability to do so now. Today, he searched the inner temple only to make the Freedom Courtyard pay a large sum of money when they moved away from the northern frontier. Even though he felt the pinch, they did not lack this kind of thing. The remnants of the sects were wiped out. How could that be possible? Even if the black snake really wiped out 99% of the sects in the northern frontier, so what? As long as there was still a place for sects to grow in the northern frontier, the black snake would not let it go. When the time came, those sect's disciples who had betrayed the association of the Demon Emperor could jump out at any time to make trouble for the black snake. The Freedom Courtyard might be able to suppress the black snake today, but it was hard to say what would happen in the future. After all, in less than a year and a half, the black serpent had grown from an ordinary beast to a mountain lord. It could no longer be considered a genius. Compared to normal cultivation, the black serpent's speed of advancement was indeed like the reincarnation of a great monster that had survived from ancient times until now, gradually recovering the cultivation of its predecessor. As soon as the doors to the inner temple opened, the well-prepared guards of the northern region immediately filed in. They did not even bother to exchange pleasantries with the cultivators of the Freedom Courtyard. They either barged their way to other places or began to rummage through chests and cabinets. What was even more outrageous was that the people rummaging through chests and cabinets did not even spare the small drawers. Was that a place where a person could hide? Even a baby could not fit in a small drawer. If a person could hide in a small drawer, they would have been cut up and stuffed in. Lin Yuan did not join the search. After all, with the existence of the Eye of God, all the movements of the Freedom Courtyard were under his control. Whether there were people hiding in it naturally could not be hidden from his eyes. Many thanks for Venerable Master's understanding. Lin Yuan nodded slightly at Venerable Kyuan, then said in a low voice, since that is the case, this king believes that Venerable Master is not in cahoots with those rebels. When this king meets with the king of the northern frontier, he will naturally speak on Venerable Master's behalf. In the future, if I have the chance to visit the Freedom Courtyard again, this king will definitely prepare a generous gift for Venerable Master as an apology. Lord Dragon King is too courteous. As a member of the northern frontier, this humble monk will naturally not sit by and watch these rebels commit crimes and do nothing. This humble monk is already ashamed of his negligence. How can I blame Lord Dragon King? Although Venerable Kyuan could not even smile, he still had to say those hypocritical words. His face had already been beaten to such a state by the black snake. If he were to start a conflict because of his words, then wouldn't his forbearance today be for naught? More than 180 monthly votes plus more chapters. Chapter 366. This king still has important matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. Lin Yuan once again nodded at Master Kyuan. Then, with a shake of his body, he soared into the sky and flew directly in the direction of Shunning City. Firstly, he really did have important matters to attend to. Secondly, he really did not want to stay here any longer. The strength of the Freedom Courtyard was much stronger than Lin Yuan had initially predicted. At least, before Lin Yuan used his trump card, the Northern Frontier Guard Army would definitely not be able to contend against the Freedom Courtyard. However, Master Kyuan, without knowing whether or not Lin Yuan had a trump card and what his trump card was cautious and patient. Lin Yuan was even worried that if he continued to stay here, he might not be able to hold back his laughter. At that time, no matter how good Master Kyuan's self-comforting skills were, he would not have a good ending today. Although the sword had been drawn, it had not reached the stage where blood would be spilled. After all, the forces with Void Nether Realm cultivators were still as stable as Mount Tai. Even if the sects below were divided into first, second, and third-rate forces, they were actually just a bunch of fellows that depended on them. If he could not uproot or expel these sects with Void Nether Realm cultivators, then it would be useless even if he killed a lot of people today. Sects were no different from aristocratic families. As long as the limelight passed, there would be countless sects that would be re-established. In this aspect, even aristocratic families would admit that they were inferior. After all, if an aristocratic family wanted to establish itself, they would need to find a bunch of relatives who were more or less related to them by blood. It was not like a family of 3 that could raise a few guests or consecrators to be called an aristocratic family. At that level, they would at most be called a tyrant or a nouveau riche. 4 hours later, Lin Yuan had already soared into the sky and arrived at the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion in Shunning City. This newly built Northern Frontier Prince's mansion was not a small project. It was even larger than all of the Dragon King temples that Lei Fan had built for Lin Yuan in the Northern Frontier. However, these 2 projects were completed at the same time in less than 3 days. After all, the current situation was chaotic. Although not everyone dared to make a fortune in this chaos, there were still many people who wanted to get some soup. The Shinwu dynasty was not just simply at war with the 2 dynasties. Even within its own territory, there were wars everywhere. Not to mention the small scale, there were 7 or 8 warlords like Lei Chuming who had hundreds of thousands of troops. However, most of them were sects, bandits, and aristocratic families. Their fighting strength was naturally incomparable to the professionally trained army of Lei Chuming. Compared to the chaotic scene in the south, the northern frontier, which had been unified by Lin Yuan long ago, had become one of the few places in the Shinwu dynasty that could be called a paradise. Some of the dignitaries and big shots had bought houses in the northern frontier and moved their descendants to the northern frontier. They did not expect to be able to take root in the northern frontier, but only hoped to leave behind a bloodline in this chaotic world. As for those commoners who did not have any background, they even flocked to the northern frontier. Even if they were homeless, it was still better than not knowing when their heads would be chopped off. It was better to be a dog in peace than a person in chaos. This sentence was painted in blood between the other regions of the Xinwu dynasty and the northern frontier. However, the luck of these refugees was not bad. After all, the northern frontier was in the process of reform and needed a large number of people to help out everywhere. As long as they were not lazy and gluttonous, not only would they not be able to eat in the northern frontier, they would even earn more than they did in their hometowns. Most importantly, Lin Yuan had no intention of spitting out the refugees that he had eaten. Not only did he give these refugees wages and food, he also set up many new gathering places in the northern frontier to help these refugees settle down. In any case, the gathering places in the northern frontier did not need to be built with city walls. At the beginning, they only needed to build some stone and wood houses that could shelter them from the wind and rain. The amount of work was not that big. Under the condition that they were provided with food, these refugees worked hard to build houses for themselves. Of course, it was also because of the labor of these refugees that not only were the northern frontier prince's mansion and the Dragon King's temple completed, even the construction of the northern frontier academy, which Lin Yuan had bared his fangs to the aristocratic clans and sects to cultivate talents for himself, had been greatly improved. Originally, there were 7 cities in the northern frontier. Excluding Zhanshan City, which had been completely wiped out, after the census of the population and the redistribution of housing, there were now 21 public residences in the northern frontier. The first phase of Lin Yuan's Northern Frontier Academy was to set up a headquarters in these 21 residences. When the residences were further developed in the future, the headquarters would apply for funds from the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion to set up their own branch academy. As time passed, Lin Yuan was sure that no one would reject an academy that provided free tuition, food and lodging, and even cultivation resources for those who performed well. The existence of the Northern Frontier Academy was the reason why Lin Yuan had the confidence to swallow these refugees. What did the prosperity of a land, a city, and a country depend on? It was the population. In the history of his previous world, there had once been the painful lesson of the 5 Barbarians' rebellion. It was because the warlords of that time were fighting amongst each other, which had almost wiped out the entire population. Otherwise, how could a bunch of foreign races who had been blocked outside the grasslands have the right to enter the divine lands and strut around? However, the implementation of the Northern Frontier policy was one thing. But family matters still had to be settled. At that moment, Lin Yuan was sitting cross-legged on a soft cushion prepared by the servants of the prince's mansion. His pair of heterochromatic eyes stared coldly at Lei Fan's face, and his voice carried a hint of mockery as he laughed coldly. "King of the Northern Frontier, you have calculated that this king will not be able to leave the secret realm, and so you are in a hurry to control the authority of the Northern Frontier?" Seated on an armchair, Lei Fan's movements stiffened slightly as a brilliant glint flashed across his purple eyes. Raising his head, he smiled and said, "Lord Demon Emperor, what are you saying? You're already in existence that's going to create a new era. How can a mere Heavenly Dipper realm cultivator stop your footsteps? If Lord Dragon King were to really die in the secret realm, that would be out of my expectations." "Then you explain to me. All these people, how did they die?" Lin Yuan shot a glance at Lei Fan, the coldness in his eyes growing even more intense, and even his voice sounded a little more forceful. Hu Yan, who was standing by the side, reached out his hand to wipe off the cold sweat on his forehead, and took a step forward to pass a white envelope into Lei Fan's hands. After that, he lowered his head and went back to his seat, looking indifferently at the 2 big bosses of the Northern Frontier who controlled lightning and thunder. In his heart, he had already made up his mind that no matter what happened today, he would bury this matter in his stomach. Chapter 367. Lei Fan put down the teacup in his hand and opened the white envelope with both hands. It was a list of names. With just a quick glance, Lei Fan's entire body shook, and large amounts of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. The names on the list were not anything that could not be exposed. They were all officials who had been assigned to various positions in the Northern Frontier during this period of time to implement the new laws of the Northern Frontier. They had not been conferred titles by the Xinwu dynasty, and they were originally the 7 mayors and the various aristocratic families groomed for roles such as housekeepers and servants. Because they had a certain level of ability, Lin Yuan had made an exception and transferred them to wear the robes of officials. They could be said to be the cornerstone of the northern frontier. However, this list of names was the same batch of officials that Lei Fan had used various excuses to kill in the past few days. It was not that these people had any grudges with Lei Fan, but they were Lin Yuan's most staunch supporters, and they completely followed the principle that all things were equal. After all, they had been housekeepers, and had become officials today. Although their status was still far from their former masters, but at least they had the right to speak to them as equals, and did not need to kneel on the ground and call themselves servants or servants. But including Lei Fan, the 7 mayors of the past had never taken this rule seriously. After all, they were all from a privileged class, whether it was in the past or now. But if they allowed this rule to continue to develop, they would lose all their privileges sooner or later, and even some of the more outstanding grassroots would be able to climb to a position higher than theirs in the future. Taking the opportunity that Lin Yuan was trapped in the mystic realm, Lei Fan had unhesitatingly waved his butcher's knife at those staunch supporters of this rule. Although he did not do it openly, but anyone with a discerning eye would know why Lei Fan had targeted those people on the list. Of course, Lei Fan had done this because he felt that Lin Yuan would not be able to get out. Although Yan Xingqi did not have any ill feelings towards Lin Yuan, and was even very interested in the new policies that Lin Yuan had implemented, the ones who were truly implementing these new policies were still Lei Fan and the 7 others. Even if Lin Yuan had died in the mystic territory, as long as Lei Fan kept most of the new policies in place, he would still be able to gain the support of Yan Xingqi. In addition to the existence of his own Lei family bloodline, even if the Xinwu dynasty had quelled the chaos in the future, he would still be able to retain a considerable amount of authority in the northern frontier. Furthermore, Yan Xingqi was an existence that was on par with Lei Qiusheng. No matter if it was his foresight or his methods, no ordinary person could compare to him. No matter how extraordinary Lin Yuan was, it would be difficult for him to convince someone like Yan Xingqi. After all, as a demonic beast, Lin Yuan was a huge hidden danger in Yan Xingqi's eyes. If it wasn't for the fact that Lin Yuan was a demonic beast, based on the things that Lin Yuan had done, Yan Xingqi would have already stood behind Lin Yuan. But Lei Fan would never have thought that not only had Lin Yuan managed to convince Yan Xingqi, he had also come out so quickly. In just 2 days' time, Lin Yuan had walked out from the mystic territory. Other than his power having increased by another step, there was also an aura about him that Lei Fan had never felt before. I was the one who did it, so what? Now that things had come to this, Lei Fan could only brace himself to meet Lin Yuan's gaze and say in a deep voice, "Black Snake, although you are a demonic beast, but I must admit that you are indeed a mighty lord with great talent and bold vision. Your new policies also have many merits. But I hope that before you make your decision, you will at least consider our opinions. What do you think, that we are willing to risk our lives to help you do all these things, for the northern frontier to prosper, for peace and prosperity? Go on." Lin Yuan's gaze rested on Lei Fan's face for a moment, but he did not fly into a rage immediately, but instead replied with an indifferent tone. The 600,000 soldiers of the Northern Frontier Guard Legion wish to achieve great things, to free themselves from their current status as bumpkins, to become one of the upstart nobles of the Northern Frontier. But the laughable thing is, they are completely unaware that we, the so-called upstart nobles of the Northern Frontier, are still standing under the butcher's knife of you, the great demon emperor. Lei Fan was so angry that he started to laugh, and he continued to say, "Taking back all the privileges in our hands, how did you come up with this idea? That's equivalent to saying that we have risked our lives to make the Northern Frontier better and better, but we are the ones who are going to get worse and worse. Then I might as well let the Northern Frontier maintain its current state." Cough. Hu Yan cleared his throat, as if he wanted to say something, but when his gaze rested on the 2 big bosses for a moment, he let go of those little schemes in his heart and just pretended that his throat was not feeling well, and continued to stand at the same spot. After all, the Northern Frontier Guard Legion was currently relying on these 2 big bosses to survive. Although the 600,000 soldiers of the Northern Frontier Guard Legion were not all Lei Fan's personal soldiers, but they were indeed trained by Li Zhongsheng and Zhang Qilin under Lei Fan's command. More or less, there was still some kinship between them. Therefore, when Lei Fan ordered the Northern Frontier Guard Legion to do what he wanted, it was far more useful than the other 6 city lords. As for Lin Yuan, he was now the guardian god of the Northern Frontier, the god of fortune. In the eyes of the refugees and ordinary people, the Northern Frontier that was undergoing reform was like gold everywhere, and as long as they put in some effort, they would be able to earn riches that they would never have dared to dream of in the past. But wasn't this gold that was spread everywhere by Lin Yuan, and it was distributed by the people who made the decisions? No matter if it was without Lin Yuan or Lei Fan, the Northern Frontier Guard Legion would be greatly weakened, and might even be swallowed up by others like a piece of fat meat. Presumably, these 2 big bosses, Hu Yan, the former city lord of Shunning City, and the current chief secretary of the Northern Frontier Guard Legion, could only stand aside and listen. The privileges you speak of, what are you referring to? You want me to give you a large piece of land in the Northern Frontier Guard Legion, and let you build your own country, China? Lin Yuan's snake tail swayed gently, and he said in a calm voice, then what's the difference between your privileges and the aristocratic families? If I were to set you as an example, what would the others think? After I've dealt with the aristocratic families and sects in the Northern Frontier Guard Legion, and then watch you all become a new aristocratic family, then what's the point of me doing all this? Or could it be that even you yourself feel that what you're doing now is completely useless? Lei Fan was at a loss for words, not knowing how to answer Lin Yuan. Although since ancient times, it was always the new rulers who suppressed the old aristocratic families and sects, and then the new aristocratic families and sects would be formed by the new rulers, unless it was a super aristocratic family like the Qiao family. Otherwise, once there was a new ruler, the local powers would usually be swallowed up by others. But if Lin Yuan were to use this method to distribute them out, then it would mean that all the hard work they had done during this period of time would be for naught, because the aristocratic families would still not be under his control. Even if Lin Yuan were to really die in the mystic realm, Lei Fan's right to speak in the Northern Frontier Guard Legion would not reach the level he had imagined. Chapter 368. You see, you've thought it through. If we follow your train of thought, the only result you can achieve is to clear out the sects from the Northern Frontier. But including you, the power of the various great families will increase rapidly. Maybe you can ensure 10 or 20 years of peace and control the Northern Frontier within this period of time. But when you lose the momentum you have now and become a part of the Northern Frontier, the respect others have for you will not be the same as before. When that time comes, do you think that you, Lei Fan, who is all alone, will be able to play against those scheming foxes in the Northern Frontier? Or will you, Lei Fan, alone, be able to go head-to-head with the Qiao family? I am indeed going to take back my privileges, not only towards the great families and the sects, but also towards all of you. No one will be able to hold any privileges in the Northern Frontier. Under my control, the Northern Frontier will always have only one voice. Do you understand? At that moment, Lin Yuan did not seem like a demonic beast, but more like a well-read strategist. It was as if Lei Fan's every move was within his calculations. Laughable. Laughable to the max. Lei Fan suddenly threw the teacup in his hand onto the floor and said coldly, Lin Yuan, you better get this straight. We are now in a cooperative relationship and there is no need to talk about who is subordinate to whom. I admit that without the wealth you brought in, the Northern Frontier will be even more difficult than before. But you also have to admit that without the Northern Frontier Guard Corps under my command, you will not be able to protect the Northern Frontier, which is such a treasured land. Hu Yan. Although he had already expected that the two of them would shed all pretenses of cordiality, but Hu Yan had never thought that Lin Yuan's attitude would be so resolute. There was no room for negotiation and he had directly ignored Lei Fan's grievances, as if he was not worried that Lei Fan would shed all pretenses of cordiality with him and they would all go their separate ways. Please do as you wish. Lin Yuan stretched his back lazily, a hint of a smile finally appearing in his voice. 600,000 Northern Frontier Guard Corps. Other than those men of sacrifice from the Lei family who came with you, if you can bring more than 10,000 people with you, I will give you my head and you will have the final say in the northern frontier. Lin Yuan's sudden burst of confidence caused Lei Fan's heart to skip a beat. Subconsciously, he had a bad feeling about this. Why don't you take a guess? After I left the Mystery Realm, I directly mobilized the Northern Frontier Guard Army to surround the Freedom Courtyard. I didn't even have any contact with the higher-ups of the Association of the Demon Emperor. Then, who told me about your actions during this period? Lin Yuan shifted into a more comfortable position, his eyes filled with ridicule. Zhang. Qi. Lin. Lei Fan's face immediately flushed red as he gritted his teeth and spat out the name. The only people who knew about Lei Fan's actions during this period of time, other than the Demon Emperor's Association, were his trusted aides. And the only person who had been in contact with Lin Yuan recently was Zhang Qilin, who was in charge of leading the troops to surround the Freedom Yard. If there was really a mole around him, then even if Zhang Qilin wasn't the mole, he would definitely be connected to the mole somehow. If you can think of Zhang Qilin, then you should be able to think of who betrayed you, right? Oh, the word betrayed is not appropriate. It should be said that they have chosen the right path. Just as Lin Yuan's voice fell, Luo Su and Li Zhongxing strode in at the same time. Their gazes paused on Lei Fan for a moment before they knelt down on one knee and cupped their hands towards Lin Yuan, saying, Lord Dragon King, the name list we drafted during this period of time has already been sent to Sherdong's Little Inn. Before nightfall, we should be able to apprehend everyone on the name list. Luo Su's words made Lei Fan feel as if he had been electrocuted. His entire body began to tremble as he stared in disbelief at Luo Su, who was kneeling before Lin Yuan. Towards Lei Fan's actions, Lin Yuan did not have any intention to comment on it. Lei Fan was an ambitious schemer, just that his ambitions had grown to a certain extent. Especially since Lei Fan had started working with him, he had not tasted any benefits and had been suppressed by him obediently. Hence, when he knew that Lin Yuan might have met with misfortune, Lei Fan had hurriedly revealed his fangs. But it was obvious that Lei Fan's grasp of the human heart had not reached a certain level. The 600,000 guards of the Northern Frontier Guard Army had indeed respected Li Zhongxing and Zhang Qilin. But Lei Fan had forgotten that Li Zhongxing and Zhang Qilin were not the men of sacrifice and servants that Lei Qiusheng had groomed from young. They had been handpicked by Lei Qiusheng from Shen Lin Jun's reserve troops, the elite force that he intended to rebuild mountain-blocking city. Even if they were loyal, it was towards Lei Qiusheng and not towards him. Moreover, after experiencing the changes that had taken place in the northern frontier, their originally simple and honest hearts naturally knew what the right path was. Hence, it was not surprising that they had chosen to serve under Lin Yuan. As for Luo Su, the prerequisite for his loyalty to Lei Fan was that Lei Fan could give him a new identity, allowing him to escape from the Shenwu dynasty's pursuit of the survivors who knew the truth behind the destruction of mountain-blocking city. And all of this, Lin Yuan could give him. More importantly, Lin Yuan had a subordinate who could control the pseudo-infernal flames, Mo Luo. As long as Lin Yuan was willing, he could suppress the tormenting pain in Luo Su's body that was almost driving him insane. Lei Fan naturally felt that the destruction of mountain-blocking city had something to do with Luo Su. But how could a battle between two armies be blamed on one person? Compared to Lin Yuan, who had defeated the mountain-blocking city's garrison army, Luo Su hated Fang Tian, who was now nowhere to be found and had degenerated into a creature of infernal flames. Both sides did not have any deep enmity with each other. In addition, they could still benefit from each other. Therefore, Luo Su submitting to Lin Yuan was something that Lei Fan should have expected. Because of a little carelessness, Lei Fan had lost everything. He did not even know that the people around him had already changed their allegiance. He still laughably thought that he could take away the northern frontier's garrison army with a wave of his hand and use this as a bargaining chip to obstruct Lin Yuan's implementation of the new policies. Now that he thought about it, his actions were like digging a hole for himself and lying in it, waiting for Lin Yuan to fill in the hole. What was the consequence of obstructing the new policies? The corpses of the sects and factions were already a very obvious example. Lei Fan slumped weakly on the chair. He could not even be bothered to ask Luo Su what the name list was. There was no need to even think about it. All the secret agents and death warriors that he had placed in the northern frontier had already been thoroughly investigated by Luo Su during this period of time. In addition to the Demon Emperors Association's ability to carry out their mission, Luo Su would have already been brutally suppressed before he could even come in to report. Obstructing the new policies, according to the law, you should be beheaded. Seeing that you have performed meritorious service, this king will give you 3 days. Lin Yuan took a deep breath and said slowly, 3 days later, if you are still within the northern frontier, then don't blame this king for being merciless. Chapter 369. Lin Yuan, you win. Lei Fan bit down on his lips, a sinister glint flashing across his face. The plan he had set up in the northern frontier for close to half a year had been completely destroyed because of a moment of impatience. So what if the Black Snake did not banish him? He did not even know what else he could do in the northern frontier. Actually, the future of the northern frontier is not as bad as you think. I hope that the northern frontier will get better and better, and not become a place where my words are the law. If there is an existence more outstanding than me, the ruler of the northern frontier can change hands anytime. You have fallen too quickly, and you don't even want to see the future of the northern frontier? Lin Yuan's eyelids closed slightly, and he said slowly, actually, with your abilities, and the bargaining chips in your hands, there will definitely be a place for you in the northern frontier in the future. Lei Fan shrugged his shoulders, and said bitterly, who knows? As his voice fell, Lei Fan strode out of the guest hall that belonged to the northern frontier duke's mansion. It was only at this moment that Lei Fan finally understood Lin Yuan's next move. He suddenly realized that the change in his mentality from the moment he realized that Lin Yuan might not be able to walk out of the mystic realm was also within Lin Yuan's expectations. The name list that Lin Yuan had handed over to him, and himself, were actually just pieces that Lin Yuan had prepared to abandon. If he had continued to endure silently, Lin Yuan would have continued to steadily nibble away at the powers of the sects, forcing them to rebel bit by bit. Although the pace would be much slower, but the pace would be much steadier. And by choosing to make things difficult for him, he had fallen right into another of Lin Yuan's plans. The current situation was still within Lin Yuan's expectations. Within 3 days, the news of Wang Ran's sudden death in the northern frontier duke's mansion would spread out from the northern frontier duke's mansion. Anyone with a discerning eye would know that Lin Yuan had dealt with Lei Fan internally. With his status and position, he was a very good piece to be abandoned. At the same time, he could also stabilize the hearts of the people from the various sects, allowing those sects who were in a constant state of panic to calm down and feel that everything that had happened before was all part of Lei Fan's plan. It was because of Lei Fan's recklessness that he had disrupted Lin Yuan's plans, and had exposed some of his trump cards like the Qiao family, which was why he had been dealt with internally by Lin Yuan. Thinking of this point, those sects and forces who had Void Realm cultivators holding the fort would not be in a hurry to migrate, giving Lin Yuan another chance to boil the frog in warm water. After all, there was only one chess piece like Lei Fan from the start to the end. Counting the first day till now, in less than 3 days, the number of sects and forces disciples who had been killed was close to 100,000. Such a tragedy would not happen again. Because the next time Lin Yuan bared his fangs, those sects and forces who were slow to react should not even dream of running away. After Lei Fan's figure had disappeared from sight, Lin Yuan then slowly closed his eyes and said in a deep voice, there are quite a number of newly established colonies. Luo Su, pick one yourself. I don't care what your administrative strategy is like, you just have to remember what I want you to do next. The aristocratic families must be weakened as much as possible, and the academy must be set up as soon as possible. As for the problem of the refugees, those who can stay should all stay. For those who can't stay, don't let them think that the northern frontier is not a good place to be. Perhaps when those people return to their hometowns and ask about the northern frontier, they might be able to bring us more people. Yes. Luo Su bowed slightly, bowed to Lin Yuan, and then slowly exited the reception room. In addition, Hu Yan, prepare to take over the position of the king of the northern frontier. The Northern Frontier Guard Corps will be expanded to 1 million men and officially renamed as the Northern Battlefront Army, with full authority handed over to Zhang Qilin. In addition, Li Zhongxing will transfer 100,000 men from the Northern Frontier Guard Corps as the backbone to set up a new army of 3 million men, named as the Southern Expedition. The manpower can be slowly recruited, but for now, it is enough to maintain the security of the northern frontier. Now, there are still many projects in the northern frontier that require manpower, so don't be overly militaristic. When Lin Yuan reached this point, he paused for a moment, narrowed his eyes and said, "In addition, after you take over the position of the king of the northern frontier, I will allow you to set up a royal guard corps that will only listen to your orders. It will be 100,000 men, and you will be able to decide the source of the soldiers yourself. As for the military officers, you can completely appoint them yourself. There is only one request, and that is, without my order, this royal guard corps is not allowed to step out of Shunning City." "Yes." Hu Yan's body suddenly tensed up, and he replied loudly. Towards the direction of Lin Yuan's new expansion of the royal guard corps, Hu Yan suddenly felt a chill crawl up his spine. Back then, when Lin Yuan had taken the position of king of the northern frontier from him and handed it over to Lei Fan, he must have already calculated that sooner or later, Lei Fan's wild ambitions would erupt. Even though Lei Fan was in control of the northern frontier guard corps, Lin Yuan had never once suggested for Lei Fan to set up a royal guard corps. As for completely taking control of the northern frontier guard corps, that was just a joke. The Northern Frontier Guard Corps, with the exception of Li Zhongxing and the others that Lei Fan had brought along, were all from the northern frontier. Now that Lin Yuan's every move and action was for the good of the Northern Frontier Guard Corps, they could not wait to be grateful to him. How could they possibly follow Lei Fan and betray Lin Yuan just because of a little bit of kindness? A sense of sorrow suddenly rose up in Hu Yan's heart. Immediately, Lin Yuan seemed to have sensed something as he slowly raised his head and said in a deep voice, "Lei Fan's ending today is indeed due to this king's scheming. But you cannot deny that if he had kept his wild ambitions in check, he would not have ended up in such a state today. Compared to him, I have already given you a lot of trust. Yes, your subordinate understands. Your subordinate will definitely do his best to work for the Demon Emperor." Hu Yan lowered his head, completely hiding the sorrow and worry in his eyes. Killing the chicken to warn the monkey, this was the best way to do it. With Lei Fan as an example, even if someone forced him to betray Lin Yuan in the future, he would have to consider whether Lin Yuan had any means to counter him. Would his trusted aides be like Li Zhongxing and Luo Su, who seemed to be acting as usual but had in fact already thrown their lot in with Lin Yuan's subordinates? Let's call it a day. This king is tired. Lin Yuan stretched his body once again, and his tone had already revealed a hint of laziness. He had indeed prepared a backup plan, but that was only a countermeasure if Lei Fan could no longer endure. Lei Fan's sudden attack on the forces of the sects had indeed disrupted Lin Yuan's plans. He had spent an entire morning reviewing Lei Fan's overall plan before coming up with a series of follow-up plans. And coming to Shunning City to cause trouble for Lei Fan was indeed a matter that had exhausted his mind. "Wait, Demon Emperor." Li Zhongxing, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke up. Lin Yuan and Hu Yan simultaneously cast their gazes onto Li Zhongxing's face. Li Zhongxing pondered for a moment before he slowly said, "The lieutenant who had previously infiltrated Xiong Wu's army to assassinate Su Wu and those who had cooperated with him have been detained by us in Shunning City for a period of time. You see." Chapter 370. Lin Yuan was slightly stunned. He had almost forgotten that when the Xinwu dynasty sent an army to attack the northern frontier, someone was behind the scenes, intending to destroy the entire northern frontier. But now that he thought about it, more than 2 months had passed, and those guys had endured for so long. Even Luo Su couldn't force them to open their mouths and reveal who the mastermind behind them was. It seemed that the force behind these people had already taught them fear before sending them here. They knew that once they opened their mouths, they would definitely not end well. That was why they could endure for so long. Then let's go and see what kind of surprise he can bring us. Lin Yuan also put away his laziness, and a cold light flashed in his heterochromatic eyes. A force lurking in the dark, constantly thinking about destroying the northern frontier. Lin Yuan didn't want to provoke such a poisonous snake, but the other party had come to him. If Lin Yuan didn't fight back, these guys would play tricks next time. Half an hour later, under the lead of Li Zhongsheng, Lin Yuan came to the bosses of Shunning City. The prison, which had been renovated, was more than 10 times stronger than before. Even the various shackles on the prisoners detained here were made of special metal, which could suppress the spiritual qi in the body of the cultivators. Even if a strong heavenly strength realm expert was put on such shackles, it would be a blessing from the ancestors if they could only exert 30% of their strength. What was more, almost all the cultivators detained here were in the airborne realm. Under the suppression of such special metal, not only could they not exert their strength, but they also had to mobilize their spiritual qi to resist the suppression. Except for the fact that their bodies had been tempered to be more durable, they were even worse than ordinary people. Lin Yuan followed Li Zhongsheng through the prison. Almost every cell had more than a dozen prisoners. After all, the new laws of the northern frontier were adapted by Lin Yuan from his previous life. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, most cultivators belonged to the kind that should be cut into pieces. Therefore, it was not strange that the prison was full of people. If the prison was empty, Lin Yuan would find it strange. The environment of this place is too good. Remember to fix it when you renovate it next time. The cell in the corner ahead is blocking my view. I'll have to rebuild it next time. And, Lin Yuan suggested as they walked. The prisoners nearby, who heard Lin Yuan's suggestions, looked at him as if he was looking at a devil. After all, most of them did not commit capital crimes. At most, they would be detained for 10 days to half a month before being released. Although life here was a little boring, at least they had food and accommodation. Moreover, the environment and food were not bad. However, if you were to follow the Black Snake's suggestion, it would not be as simple as just being bored in jail. Lin Yuan nodded in satisfaction when he saw the prisoners around him looking at him as though he was a devil. He was very satisfied with the attitude of these prisoners. After all, these people were imprisoned to learn their lesson. In the end, this prison was almost like an inn. Apart from sleeping in shared bunks, everything else could be used as a guest room. How could this work? A place like a prison should be a little more dangerous. After people came here once, they would not dare to come again. Li Zhongsheng led the way while responding to Lin Yuan. At the same time, his gaze fell on the prison warden. The prison warden immediately nodded and expressed that he would definitely renovate this place. After all, Li Zhongsheng was only detaining people here. The prison was not under his control. Later, the prison warden would still have to report to the higher-ups, and then the higher-ups would allocate funds to rebuild the prison. Soon, the group arrived at the few cells in the deepest part of the prison. Compared to the shared bunks at the outermost area, the cells in the deepest part of the prison were more interesting. Each of them was a single room, and they were separated by a thick iron door. Unless someone opened the door from the outside, the soundproofing effect was excellent. The prison warden opened one of the iron doors, and then stood outside respectfully. Small people had their own rules of survival. The Blackwater Dragon King and the commander of the Northern Frontier Guard Army were interrogating prisoners. Their backgrounds were definitely not simple. Even if such a conversation could make him rich, he did not have the guts to go in and listen in. There were no windows in the cell. Only when the iron door was opened would some light penetrate in. Looking at the pitch-black interior of the cell, Lin Yuan secretly gave Luo Su a thumbs up in his heart. This guy was very knowledgeable. How terrifying was the darkness that was completely invisible to the naked eye. Lin Yuan had experienced it once in the Sumeru world of the Fire Kirin. In such an environment, it was impossible to notice the passage of time. If it were not for someone delivering 3 meals a day to this guy, perhaps these 2 months would be easily mistaken by him for more than 10 years. In addition, such an environment could easily break down a person's psychological defense. Even if he stubbornly refused to open his mouth, it was easy to suffer from various psychological diseases, causing his spirit to become weaker and more sensitive. To a certain extent, as long as someone was willing to talk to him, he would be happy for most of the day. Even if the other party was interrogating him, he would say everything he knew without holding back, for fear that this hard-won conversation would suddenly end. Soon, Lin Yuan saw a man suspended in mid-air by 4 chains. It was the young lieutenant that Lin Yuan had met before. However, compared to his previous high-spirited appearance, the young lieutenant now looked like he had lost 20 to 30 pounds, as if he was only skin and bones. His eye sockets were sunken, and there were dark circles under his eyes. It looked like he had not had a good rest for a long time. But thinking about it, who could easily fall asleep while suspended in midair? Lin Yuan glanced at Li Zhongsheng. The latter consciously stepped out of the cell, and then took the cell key from the prison warden. He watched the prison warden and his 2 attendants leave before reaching out to close the cell door for Lin Yuan. He stood at the door like a guard, waiting for the results of the interrogation. The cell returned to darkness once again. Lin Yuan's gaze paused on the young lieutenant's face for a moment, and then he said, "Tell me, what are you going to tell me? Let's talk about vilifying me first. If you don't give me enough information or give me false information, I can guarantee that your life will be 100 times worse than it is now. But if you give me useful information, I will slowly improve your living environment. If the information you give me is valuable enough, it is not impossible for me to let you go." It seemed that because he had not spoken for a long time, the young lieutenant opened his mouth, but only a few syllables came out. Chapter 371. Lin Yuan was not in a hurry. He simply coiled his body and waited quietly. This kid had endured for such a long time and was still unwilling to confess. Clearly, he still harbored a certain amount of hope. He believed that the faction behind him would think of a way to save them, or send someone in to give them a quick death so that they would not have to continue facing Luo Su's endless torture methods. But after such a long time, there was still no movement from the outside. Therefore, this kid believed that Lin Yuan had the ability to protect him. Thus, all of his stubbornness was meaningless. He might as well tell the truth and then secretly find a small job under Lin Yuan. At the very least, he would be able to live like a normal person. Ether. Society. The young lieutenant swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said a dry name. Then, there was another period of silence. After about 10 minutes, as if he had found the correct way to pronounce the name, the young lieutenant smiled bitterly and said to Lin Yuan, "Our organization is called the Ether Society. How do I describe it? It's similar to an organization like a business alliance. However, we don't do any serious business. To put it in a small way, we sell salt and cigarettes. To put it in a big way, we do almost any business in the Shinwu dynasty that doesn't require capital. As long as we reach a certain scale, we either join the Ether Society or be exterminated." Lin Yuan nodded his head. This Ether Society was like an organization like the Yamaguchi Gumi in his previous life. Under a unified name, they governed most of the gray and black businesses under the Shinwu dynasty. The members of their organization might not have much of a say in the various factions under their name, but when the entire organization's power was combined, it was still quite frightening. But very quickly, Lin Yuan raised his eyelids and asked without much emotion, "But what does the Ether Society you speak of have to do with my northern frontier? Today, there is no business in the northern frontier that doesn't require capital. Even if there is no need for your Ether Society to do anything. I will quickly wipe out those bandits and rogues. Give me some water." The young lieutenant shook his body, as if he was trying to adjust to a more comfortable position. After a while, he said, "Of course, there was no business in the northern frontier that the Ether Association was interested in. This place is remote and cold to begin with. In addition, there was the incident with Ma Jun in the past. So, no one dares to do anything that is not profitable to begin with. Saying this, the young lieutenant opened his mouth and drank a ball of water that Lin Yuan had condensed using water element spiritual qi. He let out a long breath and continued, but the northern frontier is different now. Right now, the northern frontier is filled with gold. It would be strange if the Ether Society didn't think of ways to come in and make a fortune. However, we have been ordered to infiltrate the northern frontier. Our only goal is to destroy your rule in the northern frontier. Then, the Ether Association will send a core member to take over the northern frontier. After all, the Fey business that you monopolize can bring in huge profits, so. Lin Yuan didn't react this time. In his heart, his evaluation of the Ether Association had dropped by a level. If the Ether Association was really envious of the Fey business monopoly, then the correct choice should be to show enough goodwill to Lin Yuan and take out enough capital to join them and make a fortune together with Lin Yuan. They shouldn't grit their teeth and defeat Lin Yuan before taking over the northern frontier. Firstly, it was impossible for people like Lei Qiusheng and Zhang Xiu to not know about the Ether Association. It was just that they didn't make a move on the Ether Association due to various reasons. However, that was the basic situation. Once the Ether Association took control of a realm, those bandits that had once roared in the mountains and forests would transform into a professional army that wasn't much weaker than a regular army. At that time, they would be in a situation where they couldn't get rid of their tail. At this juncture, Lei Qiusheng would definitely prioritize eliminating a hidden danger like the Ether Association. Secondly, the northern frontier could indeed make use of the geographical advantage to monopolize the Fey business. However, after the initial capital accumulation stage, Lin Yuan had started to consciously control the Fey's price, and the market was gradually warming up. This money was really easy to earn, but it was also really hot. Those aristocratic families, sects, and high-ranking officials had no choice but to suffer this loss. If you didn't think of a way to make them recover, they would make you suffer 10 times the loss sooner or later. Thirdly, the reason why the northern frontier could become a treasure bowl was because of Lin Yuan's identity as a demonic beast. Without Lin Yuan's guarantee, how many orders would the human caravans dare to cross the Hengduan mountain range to conduct cross-border transactions? Without the backing of the other 6 dynasties' goods, just the Fey alone wouldn't be able to protect the northern frontier's market. After all, Feys were good, but not everyone could afford them. Feys might be selling well now, but that was only because merchants and aristocratic families were hoarding their goods. There were very few people who actually bought them for their own cultivation. The upper echelons of the Ether Society aren't that stupid, right? Tell me the details. Lin Yuan sat cross-legged, his heterochromatic eyes sizing up the young lieutenant's face. He suddenly realized that the Ether Society was able to reach such a scale without being destroyed by Zhang Xiu. The decision-makers were definitely not to be trifled with. If they didn't have a complete plan, they wouldn't easily have the intention to kill Lin Yuan, much less be prepared to directly destroy the northern frontier. Lord Shifter Emperor, you should know that the northern frontier was originally the base of the Jiu clan's remnants. Because this place is connected to the Hengduan mountain range, it ensured that the Jiu clan's remnants were able to obtain sufficient supplies from the Hengduan mountain range, and thus had the capital to recruit troops. After the Shifter Emperor appeared, the Jiu clan's remnants weren't able to successfully protect their territory in the northern frontier. Just this point alone is enough to make many of the Jiu clan's remnants go crazy. Therefore, the Ether Society's main purpose in taking action against Lord Shifter Emperor at this time is to make the Jiu clan's remnants take the blame. According to the original plan, regardless of whether it succeeds or not, the northern frontier will be greatly impacted. Even if you don't die in this turmoil, your vitality will be greatly damaged. When the time comes for the upper echelons of the Ether Society to appear and discuss with you some issues related to the division of benefits, you will then be more submissive to them. The young lieutenant added his own words, explaining the problem that Lin Yuan hadn't thought through before. To the Ether Society, this was of course a rare opportunity. As long as they did it, they would be able to more or less squeeze out enough benefits from Lin Yuan or Beijing. Even if they failed, there would be a group of Jiu clan's remnants who were destined to withdraw from the stage to take the blame for them. Moreover, it would be the kind of blame that they wouldn't even be able to turn over. After all, during this period of time, regardless of whether it was the style or motive of the Jiao clan's remnants, it perfectly matched the identity of the mastermind behind this matter. Chapter 372. Back then, when Lin Yuan found out that the other party wanted to destroy the northern frontier, the first thing he suspected was the surviving members of the Jiao clan who had almost gone crazy. Fortunately, Lin Yuan was not an arbitrary and rash person. After detaining these people who were responsible for this operation, there was indeed a different harvest. The Ether Society's method of slandering was quite brilliant. If they had really succeeded, the surviving members of the Jiao clan would not be able to defend themselves. However, the upper echelons of the Ether Society probably did not expect that before their plan had officially started, it had already been foiled by Lin Yuan, who had sensed that something was wrong. Even a large group of people who carried out the operation had been killed or injured. Those who were still alive were all locked up in these few dark prison cells where they could not see the light of day. It was hard to say if the Ether Society would do anything else after this. After all, the Northern Frontier now had a real name system. Everyone who entered the Northern Frontier would be given a card with their name and serial number, representing their legal identity in the Northern Frontier. In order to receive this card, information such as name, place of birth, number of family members and so on had to be checked by the official in charge of the Northern Frontier. After that, the Demonic Emperors Association would naturally monitor the new people who entered the Northern Frontier. Only after the other comrades had found a way to verify the new people's identity would the monitoring be slightly relaxed. For the Demonic Emperors Association was now like a sleepless eye, staring fixedly at the movements of the Northern Frontier. Of course, not to mention these new refugees who wanted to stir up trouble, even the natives of the Northern Frontier who had lived in the Northern Frontier for many years and knew each other well did not gain the complete trust of the Demonic Emperors Association. Every few days, they would compile a person's recent actions and carefully consider whether they could be a spy. Although this method consumed a lot of manpower and resources, for a new organization like the Demonic Emperors Association, it was the only method they could use to screen out the identities of spies. It was not that Lin Yuan had ordered them to do this. It was just that the members of the Demonic Emperors Association were very clear that the reason they could become a first-rate organization in the Northern Frontier that had replaced the Demon Slayer Guild in the Northern Frontier while under the shadow of the shadows was all because of Lin Yuan's significance to the Northern Frontier. If Lin Yuan were to fall from power, they would quickly become a target of scorn, and it would be extremely difficult for them to make a comeback. Therefore, even if Lin Yuan did not instruct them to do many things, the Demonic Emperors Association would still carry out their tasks willingly. Therefore, the secret agents of the various major factions all hated the Demonic Emperors Association to death, but none of them could come up with a plan to avoid the attention of the Demonic Emperors Association. This was the reason why the members of the Ether Society could survive until today. If it was not for the fact that the members of the Ether Society could not enter at all, or that they could not cause any trouble even if they entered, from the style of the Ether Society, as long as these losers existed, the possibility of them leaking the secrets of the Ether Society would be greater. Therefore, they would have long sent assassins to silence them. Lin Yuan was silent for a moment, and then suddenly said, "The information you gave is very interesting, but before I think of a way to determine whether it is true or not, you still won't have any special privileges. You won't even be able to leave this cell for a short period of time to take a breather. You should be able to guess that I am doing this to protect your personal safety. I believe you can understand. However, the things you have told me are only slightly interesting. It is enough to protect your life, but as for the rest..." Ha! Lin Yuan's words were like a bucket of cold water being poured over his head. After drinking a mouthful of water, and finally finding a target to talk to, the young lieutenant's face, which had recovered a bit of color, was once again ghastly pale. There was almost no color in his face. The last trace of hope in his heart was dispelled. Although he spoke a lot, the caution in his bones still existed. Other than implicating the existence of the Ether Society, almost everything he said was things that Lin Yuan already knew. This black snake was indeed not an ordinary demonic beast. It was not so easy to fool, the young lieutenant sighed inwardly. He looked at the black snake who was about to get up and leave. He hesitated for a moment before opening his mouth and bellowing, "I'm just a member of the Ether Association. Although my status isn't low, I'm not much better than those bandit leaders who are scattered around. Therefore, I don't know much about confidential information." Lin Yuan, who had just turned around, stopped. A hint of cunning flashed through his heterochromatic eyes. He wanted to use a little work and information that was already known in exchange for freedom. Did he really think he was an idiot? The Ether Society is not thinking of occupying the northern frontier on a whim. According to what I know, the higher-ups of the Ether Society have already contacted a rather large clan in the Hengduan Mountains. Once you are dealt with, this clan will quickly accept the territory you left behind. Other than not necessarily being recognized by the Xinwu dynasty, they can guarantee that the northern frontier will be the same as the northern frontier in the future. I do not know what kind of existence this demonic beast clan is. With my authority, I do not have the right to look into it. However, I know who knows the specific information. Give me a chance, I can help you scrape him out. The young lieutenant roared at the top of his lungs. His originally pale face flushed red. Although he had been locked up in a sealed cell during this period of time, for someone as young as him to be able to have a place in the Ether Society, he was naturally not an ordinary person. Even if he had not seen it with his own eyes, he was certain that the northern frontier had entered a stage of rapid development. Today, he was the first to speak. Regardless of whether Lin Yuan was free or not, he had to come and take a look. However, if he were to miss this opportunity, he did not know when he would be able to see Lin Yuan again. "Are you sure that the person you're looking for is still at the northern frontier?" Lin Yuan stopped in his tracks and turned his head to look at the young lieutenant. The young lieutenant shook his head dejectedly and said, "This is the habit of the Ether Society. Before the operation is carried out, they will definitely arrange for a member of the upper echelon to hide near the mission location. The role of this member of the upper echelon is to survey the entire situation and report the steps of us, the frontline operatives, to the Ether Society at any time. He will also discuss with the other members of the upper echelon and constantly modify and supplement our plans." At this point, he muttered somewhat unconfidently, "I don't know him. It's just that I know what he looks like by chance. Furthermore, I only know that such a person exists. It's unknown whether he's still living in the same place as before or whether he's already left the northern frontier. I can only say that I'll try my best to find him." Lin Yuan muttered to himself for a moment. His heterochromatic eyes flashed with a thoughtful look. He lowered his voice and said, "I don't know what you're planning, but I'll only give you this one chance. If you play any tricks with me, I can guarantee that your end will be much more miserable than it is now." Chapter 373. Almost all the sects in the northern frontier had been wiped out. Only the sect of the Blood Divine, the Waning Moon House, and the Green Lotus Sword sect, which had Kongming realm cultivators in charge, had not been troubled by the northern frontier guard army. However, these so-called three sects were also worried about Lin Yuan, who had suddenly shed all pretense of cordiality. He even dared to provoke the Freedom Courtyard, which had 3 Kongming realm cultivators in charge. Did that black snake really put them in his eyes? Before the representatives of the 3 sects could come up with a plan, a few pieces of news that shook the northern frontier were released from the northern frontier prince's mansion. Immediately, the Kongming realm cultivators of the 3 sects were stunned. Lei Fan, the king of the northern frontier, who had previously swept through the sects in the northern frontier with bloody means, was rumored to have contracted a strange disease. All the famous doctors in the northern frontier were unable to cure him, and he unfortunately passed away in the early hours of this morning. Because Lei Fan did not have any children, the northern frontier king's position was taken over by Hu Yan, who had originally assisted Lei Fan in implementing the new policies in the northern frontier. Regarding this, the Xinwu dynasty did not have any objections. In order to stabilize the situation in the northern frontier, not only did they redraft the imperial edict according to the wishes of the internal departments of the northern frontier, they even specially sent a lot of money to reward the new king of the northern frontier. Compared to the turmoil in other areas, the entire northern frontier prince's mansion appeared to be calm. The remaining 5 city lords who originally had the strength and qualifications to compete for the throne all maintained their silence, as if they did not have any objections to the sudden change of their superior. Very quickly, someone understood. Ever since Lei Fan ascended the throne of the northern frontier, he had always been Lin Yuan's chess piece. The entire operation of the northern frontier depended on Lin Yuan's mood. Furthermore, Lin Yuan had entered the secret realm and was besieged by the cultivators of various sections. This undoubtedly gave Lei Fan the hope of replacing Lin Yuan. Hence, under the circumstances where he had not ascertained whether Lin Yuan was dead or alive, Lei Fan had taken over the command of the northern frontier without any hesitation. Furthermore, he had ignored Lin Yuan's earlier preparations and directly started a war with the sections. Through such means, not only had he reduced the influence of the sects in the northern frontier prince's mansion, he had even found an excuse to purge a large number of people who did not agree with Lei Fan's political views within the northern frontier prince's mansion. The current situation was going well, but Lin Yuan had exceeded everyone's expectations. He had actually survived the besiegement of several Heaven Realm experts and had even become the final victor of the battle in the secret realm. After returning to the northern frontier, the first thing Lin Yuan did was to utilize the power of the aristocratic families and the Demon Emperor's Association to fix some of the loopholes in Lei Fan's plan. Furthermore, he had also swiftly pulled out the disobedient puppet Lei Fan. The cause and effect of the change in ownership of the northern frontier prince's mansion was quickly understood by everyone. It was only at this moment that the leaders of the 3 great sects could finally heave a sigh of relief. After all, although Lei Fan's previous outburst had seemed fierce, but in their eyes, he was more or less a clown. If not for Lin Yuan and the aristocratic families entering the fray, the final result would be Lei Fan purging all the sects below the second rate. Not only would this not cause the sects in the northern frontier prince's mansion to be completely defeated, the various sects in the northern frontier prince's mansion would be able to quickly swallow up the losers and raise their own strength to a higher level. Furthermore, the various sects would even raise their vigilance and unite to resist the northern frontier prince's mansion. Putting aside Lei Fan, the loser. The more important news was, Lin Yuan was going to expand the army. The expansion of the Northern Frontier Guard Army due to the increase in the number of human settlements in the northern frontier was not a surprise to anyone. Although the quota of 400,000 seemed to be quite a lot, but in actual fact, they were spread out among the various settlements in the northern frontier. Once a battle broke out in a certain area, the expanded Northern Frontier Guard Army would immediately fall into a predicament of insufficient manpower. What really attracted everyone's attention was the newly established Southern Expedition Army. With a quota of 3 million, even if they were all new recruits who had never been to the battlefield before, after a little bit of training, they would become a force that would not lose out to the Xiongwu Army. What was more important was the name of this army. This black snake still could not hold back and was going to make a move against the south. However, this matter was obviously not within the consideration of Lei Qiusheng, Zhang Xiu, and the others. After all, the Southern Frontier Army had just begun to prepare. And according to the information that the embroidered uniform guard had sent over from the northern frontier, the recruitment of the Southern Expedition Army was extremely slow. It was obvious that they did not plan to use it in the near future. Lin Yuan had not even conquered the northern frontier yet. If they rashly pushed the battle line to other areas in the south, perhaps Lin Yuan would not even be able to protect the northern frontier. In addition, the northern frontier was still under construction and needed a large amount of labor. If they recruited all the young and middle-aged men into the army, it would be tantamount to going against Lin Yuan's original intentions. Moreover, the northern frontier attracted refugees because there was no war in the northern frontier. Once the flames of war started in the northern frontier, this reformed land would no longer be attractive to those who had lost their homes because of the war. However, after Lin Yuan returned to the northern frontier, most people began to let down their guard against the northern frontier. After all, from their point of view, the northern frontier would definitely be extremely powerful in the future. But now, the northern frontier was like a rundown house. Almost the entire roof was broken. While Lin Yuan was repairing it, he had broken even more tiles. By the time Lin Yuan was ready to conquer the world, the Xinwu dynasty would have already settled its internal and external troubles. At the same time, Xinwu dynasty, inner city of the imperial capital, imperial study. Is this black snake threatening me? Lei Qiusheng swept away the memorials in front of him that seemed to be relaying information about the northern frontier. He leaned weakly on the chair. He was very clear about what Lin Yuan meant by creating a southern expedition in name only. Once he took advantage of the time when the northern frontier prince's mansion and the sects had a falling out to support the sects, or if he personally made some small moves in the northern frontier, this army would quickly condense into the strongest fist in the northern frontier. Then, it would ruthlessly strike the Xinwu dynasty. Your Majesty, the northern frontier's problem is not small, but it is not big either. Zhang Xiu bowed and said in a deep voice, the northern frontier's situation is similar to ours. We have to settle our internal and external troubles. Under the reform, the northern frontier has also made countless enemies. The sects and aristocratic families are all thorns in his side. At this time, if we still want to obstruct each other, the result will only be mutual destruction. Mutual destruction. That black snake has already grown to such an extent. Lei Qiusheng gently chewed on the words, mutual destruction. The smile at the corner of his mouth was somewhat bitter. A trace of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. He said coldly, haven't the envoys of the Frost Mirror dynasty and the Qingjiang dynasty already entered the imperial capital? Hurry up and arrange for me to meet with them. I want to see how big a piece of meat the old barbarian and the newly ascended brat want to bite off from me. Chapter 374. In the Hengduan Mountains, in the nest that Lin Yuan had chosen at the beginning. The black flood dragon's body was soaked in the lake water, and its head was casually placed on the shore. Lin Yuan's pair of different colored eyes swept across the faces of the people in front of him. He remained silent and did not speak first. Hu Yan represented the northern frontier prince's mansion, Shi Dong represented the association of the demon emperor, Kagura represented the demi-humans, and Xia Xiyu represented the sinners. Now that two of the three major forces under Lin Yuan's command had come, Lin Li's faction had also chosen their own representatives. Xia Xiyu played with the dagger in his hand and said coldly, although the sects in the northern frontier have relaxed their vigilance, those who are really smart have already begun to transfer their assets and are preparing to move to the south. After all, these major sects will send many disciples to different places to establish subsects every year in order to prevent this day from coming. I personally suggest that we take action against those forces that we can afford to offend as soon as possible. We can't let them escape just like that. I object. Hu Yan glanced at Xia Xiyu and said expressionlessly, the sects in the northern frontier are willing to withdraw themselves. This is the best situation for us now. According to reliable sources, the Qingjiang dynasty and the Frost Mirror dynasty have both sent envoys to the imperial capital not long ago. If I'm not wrong, the three dynasties should soon stop fighting and make peace. At this time, if we continue to wear down our own strength, it will be equivalent to giving the Xinwu dynasty a chance to eliminate us. The sinners were a force that had been used and suppressed by the Xinwu dynasty. Once there was a chance to bite the Xinwu dynasty, they would definitely not miss it. The northern frontier prince's mansion represented by Hu Yan used to be officials of the Xinwu dynasty. They were born with a sense of awe towards the Xinwu dynasty. Therefore, the two sides formed two extremes at the beginning of the meeting. You can't say that. Shi Dong looked left and right. Seeing that Kagura had no intention to speak, he could only brace himself and say, the two dynasties have already swallowed a lot of the Xinwu dynasty's territory. The outcome of this peace talk will not be good no matter what. Even if they are willing to return a part of the Xinwu dynasty's territory, they will definitely not let those people go back. This is obviously a result that Lei Qiusheng cannot accept. I think Lei Qiusheng will not agree to the peace talk. At this point, Shi Dong paused. Seeing that Xia Xiu and Hu Yan had no intention to speak, he continued, however, it is true that the Xinwu dynasty is about to walk out of its predicament. The strength of the northern frontier is more than enough to protect itself. However, if there is another massacre like the one led by Lei Fan, we may become the next target of the Xinwu dynasty. Shi Dong's words were completely to smooth things over. He did not want to offend anyone. On one hand, he agreed with Xia Xiu's idea of exterminating the sections. On the other hand, he said that if the northern frontier suffered too many losses, it would attract the Xinwu dynasty's attack. The fox girl Kagura moved her furry ears and said lazily, "What's the use of saying so much? The final decision is not the Demon Emperor. If you are arguing here, why don't you think of ways to convince the Demon Emperor to agree with your point of view?" As her voice fell, everyone's eyes fell on Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan raised his eyelids and swept his gaze across everyone's faces. He said calmly, "It's a good thing that the sects are willing to leave. We don't have to exterminate them. However, we can't let them go just like that. Hu Yan, bring the Northern Battlefront Army and set up a checkpoint at the northern frontier. If the sects want to leave the northern frontier, they will have to obediently hand over the toll. Otherwise, we will directly suppress them. It's fine even if you are anxious." "Yes." Hu Yan helplessly clasped his hands at Lin Yuan. He didn't want to have any more conflicts with the sections. However, obviously, except for him, no one here wanted to let the sects go just like that. Lin Yuan asked him to take charge of this matter to prevent Xia Xiu from deliberately adding fuel to the fire. If the sects saw that they had no chance to leave safely, they would still have to turn around and fight to the death. "Xia Xiu, don't look so bad. I have other things for you to do. Go gather your men and wait for my order in Shunning City. Once you receive my message, kill them all. Don't worry about where they are or what their background is." Lin Yuan's eyes paused on Xia Xiu for a while. He slightly closed his eyes and continued, "Of course, remember to pay attention to Hu Yan's situation. If the sects want to fight to the death, the Northern Battlefront Army may not be able to come in time. You should be ready to lead your men to fight for me." "Got it." Xia Xiu put the dagger in his sleeve and stood up to bow to Lin Yuan. "As for Kagura, I asked you to contact the nearby demi-human tribes with Shaoan. According to Shaoan's report, there aren't many demi-human tribes that are willing to follow us. Is that right?" After arranging Xia Xiu and Hu Yan, Lin Yuan's eyes fell on Kagura. This fox girl hadn't been in the association of the Shifter Emperor for a long time. However, in the demi-human faction, she quickly suppressed the veteran Xiao En and others and became one of the representatives of the demi-human faction. Whether it was strength or means, she was the best. Naturally, Lin Yuan entrusted her with important tasks. Kagura slightly nodded. Her gentle face showed a touch of seriousness. She said, "Shifter Emperor, the demi-human tribes used to follow the orders of the Xinwu dynasty. Many of them are related to the remnants of the Jiu family. These two forces don't have a good relationship with us. Therefore, the matter of incorporating the demi-human tribes is progressing slowly. I need more time." "There's no time." Lin Yuan shook his head and sighed. "If I'm not wrong, there will be turmoil in the Hengduan mountain range recently. Even my position in the northern frontier will be threatened. At this time, what I need is a force that can quickly enter the battlefield, not a group of ancestors that I have to carefully serve." Kagura was slightly stunned. However, she soon understood Lin Yuan's meaning. She bowed and said, "Understood. I will do as Shifter Emperor instructed. It's almost time to end the meeting. Shi Dong, your task is the easiest, but also the most difficult. I don't care what means you use. Keep a close eye on the progress of the peace talks between the Xinwu dynasty and the two empires. Once they sign the treaty, I want to get first-hand information to adjust the next round of strategic deployment. If there's a problem on your side, it will be difficult for the others to carry out their work." Lin Yuan cleared his throat and finally looked at Shi Dong, who was trying to smooth things over. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone stared at Shi Dong with dangerous eyes. After all, the speed at which the Xinwu dynasty suppressed the internal strife determined how long they could be arrogant. Therefore, Shi Dong's information must not be wrong. Chapter 375. After the representatives of the various factions left, Lin Yuan climbed out of the lake, shook off the water on his body, and said, "You've been watching from the side for so long. Do you have something to say to me?" Flames surged, and Jiao Xian's figure slowly appeared in Lin Yuan's line of sight. After a while, Zhu Xian took a deep breath with an intoxicated expression. He smiled and said, "Kid, you are really capable. This is obviously the Hengduan mountain range's monster forest with the weakest spirit qi. You actually found such a treasure land with rich spirit qi in the depths of the Hengduan mountain range." Lin Yuan's mouth twitched, but he didn't reply. The green leaf water lotus was a sacred flower that could allow people to ascend to the heavens. Aside from the fact that it took a long time to grow, it also had a rather high requirement for spiritual energy. Unfortunately, the spiritual energy in this area wasn't very dense, so the green leaf water lotus consciously gathered the surrounding spiritual energy during its growth. This was why the spiritual energy in this area was abnormally dense. If the green leaf water lotus continued to grow, the spiritual energy in this area would become even denser, and the demonic beasts that cultivated here would also become stronger. However, the green leaf lotus was still a seed and didn't show any signs. Thus, no one would think that a saint-grade spirit flower was growing here. Even if someone guessed that there was a saint-grade spirit flower here, they wouldn't be able to find it. That demonic beast from the West Sea Dragon Palace is still at the northern frontier, but my attitude is still the same. If you want to trick it to help you pick the purgatory heart, then do it yourself. Lin Yuan rolled his eyes, but his tone was abnormally serious. Jiao Xian gently shook her head and said, "I already said that the purgatory heart might be important to me, but it's not important to the point where I can't differentiate between priority and priority. Especially now in the Hengduan mountain range, Beast Lord Kirin is frantically purging his subordinates. Even I have to be on edge every day, afraid that my identity will be seen through by Beast Lord Kirin. If I were to take the purgatory heart now, what difference would it be from confessing without being pressed?" At this point, Zhu Xian looked meaningfully at Lin Yuan and sneered, "Otherwise, why do you think I allowed you to do whatever you want in the northern frontier?" Lin Yuan was silent for a moment and did not respond. The speed of his growth was obvious to all. In less than a year and a half, if he had transformed into an ordinary monster beast, he might not even have been able to cross the threshold of cultivation. However, he had grown from an ordinary wild beast to a mountain lord monster beast. In terms of cultivation speed, even those legendary divine beast bloodlines were not much better than him. His relationship with Moxibustion Heart was indeed not that good. Moxibustion Heart had indeed taken a risk by allowing him to grow. "Since it's not the usual stuff, why don't you get straight to the point?" Lin Yuan took a deep look at Jiao Xian before speaking. In legends, purgatory monster beasts should not have intelligence, but Jiao Xian was an exception. Even the purgatory monster beasts under Jiao Xian's command looked no different from ordinary monster beasts, but in reality, their intelligence was not even comparable to Spirit Awakening Realm monster beasts. They were completely relying on Jiao Xian to suppress the ruthlessness in their hearts so that they would not show fear. However, according to the legend, only demonic beasts can degenerate into purgatory creatures. Lin Yuan also saw an exception with his own eyes, so he did not have too many doubts about Zhu Xian having spiritual wisdom. The only thing he cared about was that he could not understand what Zhu Xian was thinking at all. "I plan to help you, just like before." Moxibustion Heart poked his forked snake head out and opened his bloody mouth. His smile was unusually ferocious. "I can help you become the Beast King of the Stoneclaw Forest. Naturally, I can also help you become an existence that can stand shoulder to shoulder with the three Beast Kings. Moreover, As far as I know, because you control the northern region and coexist peacefully with the humans, even the unfathomable beast King Qilin thinks highly of you. He thinks that you can lead the Hengduan mountain range into a new era and intends to make you the next beast king. Therefore, I think that I can help you and make you the next beast king as soon as possible. Oh. Lin Yuan glanced at Jiu Xian in surprise and sneered, this is different from the Lord, in my impression. You supported me to become the beast king of the Stoneclaw Forest in order to tie me firmly to the Stoneclaw Forest. When the heart of purgatory matures, it will be convenient for you to find me at any time, and it will also be convenient for you to place people around me. However, I don't think you have the ability to control a beast king or the ability to control a beast king. You don't seem to have any benefits by helping me become the next beast king. Jiu Xian smiled and quickly answered Lin Yuan's question. There are no practical benefits, but you can't say that there are no benefits for me. You know my identity and don't feel disgusted. If we had just met before, you wouldn't have deliberately attacked me. However, Kirin is different. He has a morbid desire to control the Hengduan mountain range. If he knows my identity, there will be a bloody purge. That's why I feel that I will be safer if you become the next beast king. Lin Yuan didn't feel any hostility towards purgatory creatures. As long as they didn't block his path, Lin Yuan didn't want to make unnecessary enemies for himself. Thus, he only had old grudges with Jiu Xian and no new enmity. To put it bluntly, I will help you. When you have a certain level of ability, you can help me in return. I won't say that you will make me an existence similar to the 3 Beast Kings after you become the Beast King. I only hope that you won't be ruthless towards me after you become the Beast King. I think you should consider it carefully. After all, the other candidates all have big clans behind them. It's standard for them to have a desolate demon realm presence. Even if they don't have a desolate demon realm presence, they still have a few mountain lords. As for you, your only advantage now is that you have a human force in your hands. However, in the Hengduan mountain range, the human forces can't easily interfere with your fight for the throne. Otherwise, it might cause negative effects. However, with my help, you can at least stand on the same starting line as those candidates from big clans. Jiu Xian sat up and smiled. I'm not forcing you. I just want to negotiate with you. If you don't think that I'm trustworthy, just pretend that I didn't come today. However, since I'm here today, there's no reason for me to come empty-handed. Let me give you a message. I'm all ears. Lin Yuan nodded slightly. The smile on Jiu Xian's face didn't change. She said in a deep voice, because of the benefits you created in the northern frontier, many beasts want to take your place. Even many clans have begun to take action, such as the Green Marsh clan. Chapter 376. Green Swamp Clan. A cold glint flashed in Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes. He and the Green Swamp Clan could be said to be old enemies. Because the flaming red crocodile king died in his hands, and the blood claw that came to deal with him was also dealt with, the hatred between Lin Yuan and the Green Swamp Clan was almost greater than the hatred between him and Jiu Xian. This was because the problem between him and Jiu Xian was nothing more than a matter of scheming and being schemed against, but it could be said that he had a blood feud with the Green Swamp Clan. I have only heard that the Green Swamp Clan has been in frequent contact with a human faction recently. Furthermore, it is convenient for them to mobilize the Fey beasts. The Green Swamp Clan seems to have the intention of increasing their troops to the Stoneclaw Forest. I reckon that even if they are forced by your influence in the northern frontier and cannot touch you, they will still wipe out the Stoneclaw clan and the Fey beasts loyal to you near the Stoneclaw Forest and completely cut off your path to becoming a beast king. At that time, no matter how much wealth you have in your hands, you will not be able to obtain Fays directly from the Hengduan mountain range. Whether you can obtain enough Fays will depend on the Green Swamp Clan. Even the price you have to pay in exchange for those Fays will be completely up to the Green Swamp Clan. Jiu Xian's voice was very calm as if he was chatting with an irrelevant existence. Lin Yuan's thoughts were also spinning rapidly. Previously, the young lieutenant had said that the Ether Association was planning to replace Lin Yuan in the Fey monopoly business. Then, when he thought about how the Green Swamp clan had been in frequent contact with the human factions recently, Lin Yuan naturally thought of these two opposing factions. They had already joined forces without him knowing, but the other party had not found a chance to make things difficult for him. After all, the entire northern frontier was under the control of Lin Yuan. The sects and forces were in a hurry to move southward. They had no energy to contact the demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range. Now, instead of taking advantage of Lin Yuan's truce to escape, they still wanted to contact the demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range to backstab Lin Yuan. Wasn't that just asking for too much? As for the aristocratic families, they might have this motive, but all the Feys they sold were purchased from the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. Furthermore, the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce would issue an invoice every time they paid for the Feys. The amount of Feys and the types of Feys would be listed clearly. Wherever they went after leaving the northern frontier or entering the Hengduan mountain range, they would be strictly inspected by the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. Once the amount of goods didn't match, the faction behind the caravan would instantly be blacklisted by the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. They wouldn't give up their large profits to other aristocratic families just for a little bit of profit. Therefore, only the Ether Society was in contact with the Verdant Marsh clan. Thank you, I understand. Lin Yuan reluctantly squeezed out a smile as he nodded at Zhu Xian. Zhu Xian yawned and lazily said, "You have more schemes in your head than anyone else. Anyway, I have already made my intentions clear and sent you the information. I believe you will have your own way to verify it. I don't have much to do during this period. If you want to contact me, just return to the Stoneclaw Forest. I will come and find you." Once again, Lin Yuan watched Zhu Xian leave. The coldness in his heterochromatic eyes almost solidified. It was as if it was going to freeze the scenery in front of him. 1 hour later. Still in Lin Yuan's lair. Na Qin, Batu, Wan Yu, Bai Lu, Jin Gang, and men, who had just returned, were all gathered together. Recently, the Verdant Marsh clan has been creating conflicts and sending reinforcements to the Stoneclaw Forest. Why didn't I hear you mention it? Lin Yuan went straight to the point. His gaze fell on his trusted subordinates in the Hengduan Mountains. Na Qin and Ba Tu didn't say anything, but Men Du scratched his head and said in a deep voice, "Green Marsh clan? I don't know about this. In the time that you were not here, the Stoneclaw Forest was much more peaceful. There were even beast kings coming every day to ask us when the next batch of goods will be sent to the Hengduan Mountains. They asked what good things the next batch would have and if they could order more. As for the conflicts." Speaking of this, he glanced at Na Qin and said in a low voice, "Na Qin did not report to me." Na Qin, who had felt that he had become a follower after returning from the Mendu city, casually said, "Lord Beast King, it's not like you don't know that our relationship with the Green Swamp clan has always been bad. The neighboring Beast Kings are mostly subordinates of the Green Swamp clan, and the friction between the two sides has always existed. Even if we deliberately suppress it, the demonic beasts below us will still have a small fight every 3 days and a big fight every 5 days. However, I really don't know about the Verdant Marsh clan sending reinforcements to the Stoneclaw Forest. In any case, I don't feel that there has been any change." Wan Yu did not speak. Her eyes flashed from time to time, as if she was thinking about something. Bai Lu shook his fur and said, "The Verdant Marsh clan sending reinforcements to the Stoneclaw Forest. I have heard of this matter, but I don't know if it is directed at you." "What do you mean by you don't know if it is directed at us?" Men Du was slightly startled and hurriedly asked. "Isn't the Scarlet Flame Swamp about to become the nest of the infernal demonic beasts? The Black Snake side is not a problem, but the demonic beasts on the other side have been penetrated by the infernal demonic beasts several times. In addition, Beast King Kirin has been purging the Hengduan mountain range of disloyal demonic beasts recently, so the higher-ups did not have time to deal with them. These infernal demonic beasts that rushed out have brought them quite a bit of trouble." Thus, when the Verdant Marsh clan sent reinforcements to the Stoneclaw Forest, it was under the banner of guarding against the infernal demonic beasts. Moreover, the demonic beasts they sent over did not move after entering the Stoneclaw Forest. Thus, I feel that they might really be here to help defend. It is also because the relationship between the two sides is not good that although my demonic beasts were keeping an eye on the Verdant Marsh clan's reinforcements, I didn't immediately tell you. I was worried that you would think that the other side was targeting you. It wouldn't be fun if a fight broke out. Bai Lu replied in a low voice, but his tone suddenly changed and he said, however, the black snake has never spoken without thinking. Since it brought up this matter, then the Verdant Marsh clan's reinforcements must be hiding some unspeakable secret. Sir Beast King, what do you say? Mendu turned his head and looked at Lin Yuan. This was the basic respect for the Beast King. Even though Lin Yuan's focus was on the northern frontier and Mendu was in charge of all matters in the Stoneclaw Forest, when Lin Yuan was present, Mendu still chose to obediently shut his mouth and wait for Lin Yuan's orders. Chapter 377. Hit it. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes and replied decisively. Lin Yuan had long passed the weakest stage. To the previous him, the Green Swamp clan with 3 desolate demon realm experts was an insurmountable mountain. Even if the other party gave him a resounding slap, he could only rely on Zhu Xian's subordinates to kill Blood Claw. After that, he could only watch as the other party eyed him covetously, unable to do anything. But the current Lin Yuan was different from the Lin Yuan of the past. In this world, there were no eternal enemies or friends, only eternal interests. Controlling the northern frontier's huge human chamber of commerce, Lin Yuan certainly needed the Hengduan mountain range for convenience. But these Hengduan mountain range monsters that were hostile to humans, if not for the huge benefits Lin Yuan brought to them, how could they let the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce's caravans pass through their territory? One must know that when the three-eyed ape was the Stoneclaw Forest's Beast King, even stepping into the periphery of the Hengduan mountain range was a taboo for humans. Therefore, not to mention the unspoken rule of the desolate demon realm experts not acting without permission, even if it was just for the benefits Lin Yuan could create, those monsters lying in the Hengduan mountain range would not sit idly by as they took profits from Lin Yuan. If the 3 desolate demon realm experts were not included, the strength of the Green Swamp clan would be laughable. The selection of a great beast king like Subaru was actually very complicated. Individual strength was indeed important, otherwise, they would not be able to suppress a group of great beast kings in such a huge territory. But the strength of the clan itself could not be weak, because the energy of an individual was extremely limited. It was impossible to take care of every aspect of every territory. Therefore, the young adults of the clan and even branch bloodlines like the Stoneclaw clan had to be evenly distributed to each territory. The fact that the 3 desolate demon realm experts were not selected as great beast kings already showed that the Green Swamp clan looked strong, but in reality, they were strong in appearance but weak in reality. With just our strength, it's not enough, right? Bailu narrowed his eyes and poured cold water on Lin Yuan at the right time. It did not deny that Lin Yuan was an excellent lord in all aspects. Even if he did not have the favor of the Beast Lord Kirin, as long as Lin Yuan did not die prematurely, there was still hope for him to become the 4th great Beast Lord in the Hengduan Mountains. However, which of the emperors, kings, generals, and ministers from ancient times to the present wasn't a mighty lord of a generation? These mighty lords had a large number of aides and strategists gathered around them. It wasn't just because they were good at something, but more so because they would remind their lords when they made a wrong decision. If everyone was wrong, they would take the initiative to stand out and take the blame, not letting their lords leave a stain in the annals of history. As Lin Yuan's unannounced blood oath brother, Bai Lu was not lowly to the point of taking the blame for Lin Yuan. However, Bai Lu was obviously worried that Lin Yuan was too arrogant. Although the sects in the northern frontier had decided to temporarily avoid the sharp edge and not bicker with Lin Yuan, that was because they were afraid that if they broke the rules, the flustered and exasperated Lin Yuan would invite the desolate demon realm monsters that had been entrenched in the Hengduan Mountains for many years to become enemies with them. If they lost their foundation in the northern frontier, how would they have the confidence to challenge the monsters in the Hengduan Mountains? Lin Yuan was now relying on his control of the northern frontier and the caravan, which gave him a lot of authority in the Hengduan Mountains. However, looking at it from another perspective, the current Lin Yuan really did not have the power to protect this authority. Therefore, there were many monsters that coveted his foundation in the northern frontier. If a fight really broke out, it was still unknown which side those monsters would stand on. Hit it. Lin Yuan repeated it again, and there was a hint of displeasure between his eyebrows. Wan Yu pondered for a moment, then suddenly smiled and said in a clear voice, "I'll go gather the monsters that can fight." The Green Marsh clan relied on the 3 desolate demon realm experts to take over the territory near the Stoneclaw Forest. It's time to teach them a lesson. Ta, 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 just as Wan Yu's voice fell, a series of thunderous footsteps followed closely behind. Hundreds, thousands, close to 10,000, more and more humanoid creatures wearing bright armor and holding all kinds of sharp weapons and crossbows gathered here. Although they had human-like bodies and 4 limbs, these humanoid creatures more or less carried the shadow of a monster. Whether it was in the human camp or the monster camp, the demi-humans were not very well received. However, in the prelude to the war Lin Yuan was about to start, they could play a decisive role in determining victory. This was because even if Lin Yuan was in charge of the northern frontier, the monsters in the Hengduan Mountains would not agree to the humans interfering in the internal disputes of the Hengduan Mountains. And with the current strength of the Stoneclaw clan, even with the help of Bai Lu and Jin Gang, they still did not have the qualifications to directly challenge the Green Marsh clan. However, the demi-humans, who had the blood of monster beasts flowing in their veins, could participate in this war. Although they did not have the strong physique and special abilities of the monster beasts, their ancestral bloodline still gave them a lot of advantages. For example, Shaoan's stealth and archery were a domain that countless humans could not reach in their lifetime. Moreover, the demi-humans could be equipped with human armor and weapons. As long as there were enough of them, they would undoubtedly be more terrifying than a simple human or monster beast. Not to mention the fact that the demi-humans did not live long and most of them had low intelligence. In terms of fighting strength, the demi-humans could definitely threaten any force. This was not only seen by Lin Yuan, the monster beasts and humans also saw the huge potential of the demi-humans. This was the main reason why they jointly excluded the demi-humans. After all, the monster beasts and humans were already locked in a fierce battle. No one was willing to see a third race that was independent of both sides rise again. We pay our respects to Sir Monster Emperor. A group of demi-human warriors knelt down on one knee in front of Lin Yuan, their momentum shaking the sky. Kagura walked out of the demi-human army and walked in front of Lin Yuan with light steps. She smiled and said, "According to Sir Monster Emperor's order, after this subordinate led the northern army and destroyed several demi-human tribes that were determined to not submit to us, they quickly bowed their heads. This is the first batch. Shaoan is still reorganizing the tribes. Next, the demi-human tribes living near the northern frontier will continue to provide elite warriors for Sir Monster Emperor." The worship in Kagura's eyes almost condensed into a solid substance. After all, in her opinion, Lin Yuan's previous suggestion was tantamount to shooting himself in the foot. Once the news of the destruction of the demi-human tribes spread, not only would it arouse public anger, but even the demi-human tribes that had now surrendered to Lin Yuan might also join in the rebellion against Lin Yuan. However, Kagura was very clear about her identity, so she did not oppose Lin Yuan like Bai Lu did. Instead, she meticulously began to implement Lin Yuan's plan. Chapter 378. In fact, subduing the demi-human tribes was just a simple application of psychology. Before Lin Yuan took control of the northern frontier, these demi-humans did not have a good life. Even Xiao En, who was extremely skilled in stealth and archery, was used as cannon fodder by Zhanshan City. Now that the northern frontier had changed hands, some of the demi-humans wanted to establish themselves and become the force that controlled lightning in the northern frontier. However, under the joint suppression of humans and demon beasts, the demi-human tribe's hot-bloodedness and arrogance had long dissipated. They ran across this land day and night for nothing more than survival. When Lin Yuan was amiable, they could coldly demand sovereignty. However, when Lin Yuan removed the rain and brought down the lightning, these demi-human tribes, who had long been accustomed to lowering their heads for survival, naturally would not fight to the death with Lin Yuan. Go and gather the warriors. There's no need for a battle plan. Intrude into the territory of the Green Marsh clan, kill. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes bloomed with a cold light. As soon as his voice fell, his body had already shot out, followed by tens of thousands of demi-human warriors. Lin Yuan did not care that someone was scheming against him behind his back. Only a mediocre person would not be envied by others. Since he had taken control of the northern region, he had the power and wealth that others did not even dare to think about. Naturally, he had to bear this responsibility and show that he had the strength to protect this power. The existence of the desolate demon realm could not take action, so what Lin Yuan had to do next was to kill. He had to kill until all the demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range feared him. In this way, before he stepped into the desolate demon realm, he could save a lot of trouble. The sun was setting in the west, and the bright moon was gradually rising. The Hengduan mountain range, which was supposed to be peaceful, was now filled with the sounds of killing. With the Stoneclaw Forest as the center, a semicircle spread out, and almost everywhere was a battlefield. At first, it was the demi-humans fighting the demon beasts under the Green Marsh clan. Later, although the nearby beast kings did not say anything, they all mixed into Lin Yuan's team and began to besiege the Green Marsh clan's demon beasts. During this time, the Green Marsh clan's beast kings relied on their background to make the nearby beast kings suffer. Especially after Lin Yuan took control of the northern frontier, the Green Marsh clan did not dare to touch Lin Yuan's whiskers and began to vent their anger on the nearby beast kings. Demonic beasts died one after another, but not a single corpse could be seen on the ground. After all, these dead demonic beasts could be easily exchanged for spirit items that they couldn't normally obtain in the northern region's black market. Therefore, while these beast kings were crazily killing, they didn't forget to send a group of demonic beasts to pick up the demonic beasts' corpses like farmers during an autumn harvest. Unlike Lin Yuan's sudden and irresistible attack, the Green Marsh clan's side was completely stunned. During this time, they had consciously increased their troops near the Stoneclaw Forest. The smarter demon beasts could see that the higher-ups were going to attack the Black Snake. However, before they could receive orders from the higher-ups, the Black Snake's side suddenly attacked. Even the nearby beast kings spontaneously joined the battle. For a moment, they did not even know whether to advance or retreat. If they did not fight the Black Snake's subordinates, they would lose their territory and be held accountable by the Green Marsh clan. However, if they fought the Black Snake, they did not have much confidence in winning. Secondly, they did not know whether the higher-ups were prepared to have a falling out with the Black Snake. Therefore, they could only fight and retreat, maintaining their battle line while waiting for the Green Marsh clan's orders. But the problem was, it was better if they did not retreat. With this retreat, more and more beast kings no longer watched and joined Lin Yuan's side in the battle. To put it bluntly, the Green Marsh clan was nothing. If it were not for the 3 desolate demon realm demon beasts guarding them, they would only be a group of large lizards rolling around in the swamp. However, with Lin Yuan's current status in the Hengduan mountain range, he was no different from a god of wealth. Especially after opening a trade with the humans, they could even obtain spiritual items from Lin Yuan that were not produced in their region. There was still a distance between the Stoneclaw Forest and the Green Marsh clan's territory. When the news of the battle near the Stoneclaw Forest reached the grassy swamp, the beast kings under their command had already been completely routed. The 3 leaders of the grassy swamp clan had gloomy expressions on their faces when they heard the news of the battle near Stoneclaw Forest. Third leader He Shi, who had the worst temper, used his claws to crush a stone table and coldly said, "This Black Snake has never placed our Green Marsh clan in his eyes. Big brother, what are you waiting for? Let our men make a trip to the Stoneclaw Forest and capture this reckless Black Snake for us to deal with." The news of Lin Yuan breaking through to the Mountain Lord realm was actually only known to the cultivators in the northern frontier. Even the Stony clan had only just learned of this news, let alone the Green Marsh clan who had never taken Lin Yuan seriously. Therefore, in their eyes, Lin Yuan, a mere intelligence realm black snake, dared to provoke their Green Marsh clan. This was the same as pressing their face to the ground and stomping on the ground. Second leader Duchi narrowed his eyes and said, "Third brother, don't be so rash. You should know that this Black Snake is now the face of the Hengduan mountain range. If Black Snake is gone, it won't be as easy as you think for us Yao beasts to control the northern frontier." Wasn't it difficult? Why would the six empires allow Lin Yuan to control the northern frontier? This was because Lin Yuan had done a very good job of keeping up appearances. Although Lin Yuan was the actual ruler of the northern frontier, the king of the northern frontier was still a human. Moreover, the main military force of the northern frontier was also human. Even the Yao beasts under Lin Yuan's command wouldn't casually step into the territory of the northern frontier unless they were going to the northern frontier to do business. In addition, the rules of the northern frontier were very strict. Whether it was humans, Yao beasts, or demi-humans, once they violated the rules of the northern frontier, they wouldn't have anything good to eat. Therefore, the other six empires were naturally willing to let Lin Yuan control the northern frontier. With this Black Snake by his side, Lei Qiusheng, the mighty ruler, was like a fishbone stuck in his throat. Whether it was status or race, both sides couldn't be harmonious. Therefore, the more powerful the northern frontier was, the more it would hurt Lei Qiusheng's vitality when he came to settle accounts. This was also the reason why the six empires opened the door to the merchants of the northern frontier, allowing them to do business right under their noses. However, if it was another Yao beast that controlled the northern frontier? Even if Lin Yuan had to die, he would bite off a piece of meat from the other party. When the time came, both sides would suffer great losses. Lei Qiusheng would definitely not let go of this opportunity to regain control of the northern frontier. Even if Lei Qiusheng didn't have the strength to spare, could it be that those aristocratic families and sects near the northern frontier were vegetarians? Taking a step back, the northern frontier's laws were there. Lin Yuan didn't have his own clan and was all alone. Of course, he could strictly enforce the laws. However, could the other Yao beasts with huge clans do the same? Chapter 379. It would be good enough if the leaders of these clans didn't do anything, let alone their descendants. Plus, the Northern Frontier King's Palace and the Shifter Emperor's Association were all on Lin Yuan's side. If any other Shifter clan wanted to control the Northern Frontier, they would be the first to disagree. When the time comes, the harmonious atmosphere that the humans and the Shifter Emperor worked so hard to build would once again turn into a battlefield of confrontation. If they wanted to control the northern frontier, they would first have to cultivate their own forces among the humans. However, the criminals, demi-humans, and rebels had all been won over by Lin Yuan. What else could they do? It was just like what Lin Yuan said to Qin Guanshan. The Shifter Emperor's Association couldn't be replicated. The current situation wouldn't change. However, once the Shifter Emperor's Association was destroyed, no one would sit back and watch a new Shifter Emperor rise. That's right. This Black Snake is now in control of the northern frontier. Even if we want to replace him, we have to do it slowly. If we kill Black Snake now, we will only lose control of the northern frontier. Not to mention that the Beast Lord Kirin has regained control of the King's Palace. Even the King's Palace that had many factions before wouldn't condone us attacking Black Snake. The great leader Rock Skin nodded. His eyes flashed with a hint of seriousness. As the leader of the Green Swamp clan, Rock Skin's foresight was far better than his two younger brothers. Originally, he wanted to contact some human forces to infiltrate the northern frontier. After gradually gaining control of the northern frontier, he would suddenly launch an attack. At that time, even if Black Snake died in their hands, the northern frontier would still be under the control of the Hengduan mountain range. Naturally, the Shifter Emperor's palace wouldn't stop them from attacking Black Snake. However, now that Lin Yuan suddenly launched an attack, it was like a general landing on a chessboard. Then we're just going to let it go. Black Rock snorted twice and asked in a dissatisfied tone. Poison Centipede smiled and said, "Third, I told you not to be impulsive. If I tell my brother that we're done with this, will you trouble Black Snake in private?" Black Rock crossed his claws in front of his chest and sneered, "Second brother, although our Green Marsh clan wasn't chosen to be a great Beast King candidate, no one can deny the strength of our Green Marsh clan. If we were to be slapped in the face by a wisdom stage ant, how would the demonic beasts of our Green Marsh clan face others in the future?" Du Qiong was silent for a moment, then the smile on his face grew wider as he said in a clear voice, "Third brother is right. With the strength of our Green Swamp clan, even if he isn't the great Beast King in name, Subaru wouldn't be willing to fall out with our Green Swamp clan for a small black snake, right? Big brother, look." The Green Marsh clan was considered a rather powerful clan in the Hengduan mountain range. Even a great Beast King wouldn't easily provoke them if it wasn't necessary. After all, the three desolate demonic stage existences weren't just for show. If they fell out, even if they could win, it wouldn't be worth it. Rock Skin stood up from the stone chair and said with a cold gaze, "I'll go to the royal court and ask for an explanation." The Green Marsh clan was a famous clan in the Hengduan mountain range. Their forces were spread throughout the region near the Shenwu dynasty. He didn't believe that a small black snake that had just gained the right to speak in the Hengduan mountain range would be able to make the various factions in the royal court speak up for it and make Subaru take the risk of falling out with the Green Marsh clan. As long as the royal court spoke, the black snake would have to spit out whatever it ate. It would even have to compensate the Green Marsh clan with a generous amount of spirit items. At this moment, Rock Skin hadn't set off yet, but he had already begun to draw up a list in his heart. At the same time, he was secretly thinking about where the black snake's bottom line was. That guy was raking in gold every day and had countless spirit items and resources in his hands. If there was a shortage, he would feel bad for himself. On the other side, Lin Yuan stretched his body and watched as King Kong and Gate personally led a team to attack the last territory of the Green Marsh clan near the Stoneclaw Forest. His heterochromatic eyes flashed with ridicule. The surprise attack had given him a total of 8,000 war points. The next time the war treasury refreshed a random item, he wouldn't have to worry about not having enough war points. Curly Moon coiled her snake body and lazily said, "Although you've won this battle, your battle with the Green Swamp clan has just begun. If I'm not wrong, the Green Swamp clan should know that going head-to-head with you won't benefit them, so their next step should be to go to the Monster King Court to demand an explanation." As a Wisdom Realm demonic beast, Curly Moon's intelligence clearly wasn't at this level. Even Bai Lu and King Kong were inferior to Curly Moon in terms of scheming. Otherwise, this guy wouldn't have been able to play around with the desolate demon realm's Moxibustion and seek refuge under Lin Yuan's sect. Let it go. If it turns around and goes head-to-head, I might not be able to defend the territory I took. But if it goes to the royal court, then it's a different matter. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with ridicule. A few beasts with higher intelligence were still beasts. How could they be a match for him when it came to scheming? If the Green Marsh clan went to complain, he naturally had ways to deal with them. What he was afraid of was that the Green Marsh clan's demonic beasts were all hotheads. However, from their fearful appearance, the Green Marsh clan's demonic beasts were still sensible. At the very least, the demonic beast at the helm was sensible. Otherwise, if Lin Yuan's side took the lead to defeat the Green Marsh clan's demonic beasts, the Green Marsh clan's demonic beasts would counterattack before he could even warm up his territory. Then, it would really be an all-out war. If something happened at the northern frontier, Lin Yuan wouldn't be able to deal with it. After all, although the Stoneclaw Forest was impregnable to the point that even the royal court was worried about the Inferno demon beasts, its foundation was still weak. When it came to war, it was a competition of foundation. It was true that Lin Yuan had money and food, but he didn't have many demonic beasts that could fight under his command. If it wasn't for the fact that the nearby Beast Kings were bullied by the Green Marsh clan, Lin Yuan wouldn't have been able to defeat the Beast Kings that the Green Marsh clan placed high hopes on so quickly. Oh. Wan Yu's eyes lit up. She didn't have the slightest trace of laziness from before. She smiled and said, "So Sir Demonic Emperor had already calculated this. However, this subordinate is very curious. Where did Sir Demonic Emperor get the confidence that the royal court would ignore the powerful Green Marsh clan and side with us?" Wan Yu actually had some countermeasures. Her lazy appearance from before was purposely for Lin Yuan to see. After all, being able to make the demonic emperor, who controlled the lightning of the northern frontier, give a speech was undoubtedly a matter of face. Chapter 380. The Green Swamp clan's influence in the Hengduan Mountains wasn't small. Although it wasn't enough to influence the decisions of the royal court, it was still comparable to the Great Beast Kings. As the leader of the Green Swamp clan, Rockhide naturally had the qualifications to attend the royal court meeting. However, monsters didn't like such occasions, so they weren't very enthusiastic about the royal court meeting. Normally, Rockhide wouldn't step into the territory of the royal court unless he encountered something he couldn't handle. Only then would he remember the existence of the monster royal court. Otherwise, wouldn't it be better for him to be a local tyrant? Stepping into the monster royal court today was the first time Rockhide walked out of the Green Swamp in the past 3 years. Although it couldn't be compared to the scale of the human imperial capital, the monster royal court still occupied an area of more than 100,000 li. It supported countless monsters. The most terrifying thing was that all the monsters that lived in the territory of the monster royal court were either experts or their descendants. If the clan didn't have a desolate demon realm expert, they would at least have 7 or 8 mountain lord level monsters. Otherwise, if they weren't in the territory of the monster royal court, they wouldn't have the face to greet other monsters. Under the strange gazes of the monsters, Rockhide slowly stepped onto the mountain path leading to the royal court. The guards he met on the way were basically all mountain lord level monsters. Occasionally, there would be a few desolate demon realm monsters passing through the mountain path. However, when these monsters saw Rockhide, they didn't have a good expression. When he walked into the royal court, Rockhide discovered that today's impromptu meeting, which had been held because of his arrival, wasn't small at all. Any random person present was a leader of a large clan with a territory of over 1,000,000 miles. Existences of the desolate demon realm weren't rare. Even Keiho, Raymond, and Suhibaru, the 3 great beast kings, were present. In the center of the royal court was the beast lord Qilin, who had just emerged from seclusion and directly set off a storm of blood in the Hengduan Mountains. Gulp. Rockhide subconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Although he was also a monster of the desolate demon realm, on the endless path of the desolate demon realm, he really wasn't considered to be an existence that had walked very far. At most, he was just a little stronger than those newbies who had just entered the desolate demon realm. If they fought, it would be hard to say who would win. It was a little scared of such a big scene. After all, although it was here to lodge a complaint, it was indeed unreasonable. Moreover, their Green Swamp clan had recently been flirting with a human force. To these well-informed great demonic beasts, this was naturally not a secret. If there was a great demonic beast on the black snake's side who used this matter to pressure it, it would really peel off a layer of skin. As for the black snake flirting with humans, how could that be the same thing? Lin Yuan was raising his own people, a traitor among the humans. If he were to collude with the human forces, wouldn't he become a traitor among the demonic beasts? Rock Skin, your Green Swamp clan sure is impressive. You've troubled the royal court over such a trivial matter of fighting for territory, and even made us gather here early in the morning to wait for you? Look at what time it is now. Do you think that we're all like you, so bored that we only know how to scheme against each other? The Honed Ice Wolf King Raymond's territory was close to the Shuangjian dynasty. Usually, he would fight fiercely with those barbarians, and was considered to be the most hot-tempered of the 3 great demonic beast kings. When he saw Rawhide slowly step into the royal court, he was instantly enraged. Rawhide was slightly startled, and even felt a little wronged. Logically speaking, it was a trivial matter for it to compete with the Black Serpent for territory. After all, the change of ownership in the Hengduan Mountains happened countless times every day. If not for the Black Serpent's complicated background, it would have settled this matter on its own and would not have bothered the palace at all. Therefore, it would never have thought that such a trivial matter would actually alarm so many big shots to attend the meeting. In almost an instant, Rawhide thought of many things. The Hondice Wolf King's tone was unfriendly, probably because it did not intend to stand on his side in the first place. Otherwise, it would not have directly picked on him. In addition, not many of these big shots who came to listen in were on good terms with him. At most, they knew each other and were on good terms with each other. They would not rush over to stand up for him just because he was slapped in the face by the black snake. This was probably going to be difficult. Rockskin swallowed his saliva again, and his eyes began to drift. Big Brother Raymond must be joking. Fighting for territory is of course a trivial matter, but it's the Green Swamp clan's territory that's being snatched. This is a huge matter. Who doesn't know about the monsters in the Hengduan Mountains? It has always been the Green Swamp clan who snatches territory from others. When has their territory ever been snatched by others? This little sister has also suffered greatly at the hands of the Green Swamp clan and lost many monsters. Don't you think so, Big Brother Sahibru? Before Rawhide could reply, the colorful snake Queen Keiho's soft voice had already sounded. If one only listened to her voice and did not look at her body, Keiho would appear to be a 13 or 14-year-old little girl. Moreover, she was the kind of weeping beauty that would make one want to protect her from the bottom of their heart. However, the demon slayers near the Hengduan Mountains all knew that this snake beauty was a great demon who would devour people without spitting out their bones. Who knew how many humans she had killed with her pitiful voice? Suhibru, with his shiny golden fur, nodded and crossed his two thick arms in front of his chest. He did not even want to look at Rawhide, as if Rawhide was already a corpse. Thump! Rawhide's heart suddenly sank. What was there to complain about? He had not even said a word when Raymond began to pick on him. Then, Keiho and Suhiburu followed suit and stood on the opposite side. The three great beast kings of the Hengduan Mountains were making trouble at the same time. Not to mention him, even Beast Lord Kirin would have to tremble twice. The sins of the heavens could be forgiven, but the sins of one's own making were the hardest to bear. This saying was undoubtedly very appropriate for Rawhide. Although the three desolate demon realm experts of the Green Swamp clan had not gone far on this path, compared to those clans that only had one or two desolate demon realm experts, it was naturally best to avoid conflict with the Green Swamp clan. That was why the Green Swamp clan was able to bypass the Beast Kings in charge of the Stoneclaw Forest and directly send the Blood Claw and the other monsters to Lin Yuan's territory. From this, one could see how tyrannical the Green Swamp clan was. Keiho had also suffered at the hands of the Green Swamp clan, but she had never mentioned it before. It was not because she was afraid of the Green Swamp clan, but because it was not worth it to fall out with the Green Swamp clan over one or two territories. Therefore, Keiho tolerated the Green Swamp clan this time. After all, they were fighting over the territories of the Great Beast Kings. If they haggled over every piece of land, how would they have the time to cultivate? Chapter 381. Alright, calm down. The master hasn't even spoken yet, and you're already trying to gain the upper hand? The Beast Lord Kirin Incubus swept his gaze across the three great beast kings, and his eyes flashed with a touch of contemplation. As an existence that thought highly of Lin Yuan as the future leader of the Hengduan mountain range, although the Incubus didn't say anything, he still defended Lin Yuan's interests in his heart. After all, Lin Yuan controlled the northern frontier, and this wasn't as simple as bringing some benefits to the Hengduan mountain range. More importantly, Lin Yuan's actions were equivalent to expanding the territory of the Hengduan mountain range. This was something that the Incubus had wanted to do in the past, but failed to do so. But at this moment, the incubus had to reconsider whether he should stand on Lin Yuan's side. Although the Monster King court was different from the human dynasty, as the Beast Lord, the incubus still had to learn how to weigh the Beast Kings under his command. Otherwise, if these Beast Kings all wanted to become the Beast Lord, who would still treat fighting against the humans as their highest mission? All these years, the incubus had been in closed-door training, but in fact, he knew the big and small affairs of the Hengduan mountain range like the back of his hand. Otherwise, those demons and monsters wouldn't have nowhere to hide and directly set off a bloody storm in the Hengduan mountain range. Even Lin Yuan, the Beast King of the northern frontier, could be easily found by the incubus. If one of the three great Beast Kings didn't stand on Lin Yuan's side, the incubus would still side with Lin Yuan. But now, he had to reconsider. If he stood on Lin Yuan's side, and with the three great Beast Kings protecting him, those great Beast Kings wouldn't have any intention to speak for Rock Skin at this moment. If he sided with Rock Skin, wouldn't it mean that there was no need to fight? Wouldn't it be fine if he just waited for Lin Yuan to inherit the position of Beast Lord? Although Lin Yuan was indeed the most favored candidate of the Beast Lord Kirin, mentioning Lin Yuan too early wouldn't benefit Lin Yuan at all. Instead, it would put Lin Yuan in danger. Especially since the last time he went into closed-door training, he felt that his life was coming to an end. He hadn't even touched the threshold to break through to the next realm, so the idea of breaking through to the limit to prolong his life could only be treated as a joke. As long as he stayed in the Hengduan mountain range, Lin Yuan could still be protected. But what if he died? According to the rules of the Hengduan mountain range, unless there was one candidate who could directly crush their opponent, the position of the Beast Lord would be vacant for half a year. In this half a year, the Beast King court would be ruled by three great demonic beasts. Many candidates would be tested by the three great demonic beasts before the new Beast Lord could be determined. Although Lin Yuan was in the limelight now, if he didn't secretly take care of him, who knew how many great Beast Kings would choose to eliminate Lin Yuan first? Not to mention half a year, even half a month would be difficult enough. The Beast Lord, the Qilin, opened his mouth. Even though the three great Beast Kings had already formed a united front, they still obediently shut their mouths and looked at Rawhide. Their cold eyes flashed with a threatening intent, as if as long as Rawhide had the guts to open his mouth today, they would have a way to make him suffer. Rock Skin was terrified. If he knew that Lin Yuan's background was so strong, he wouldn't have acted smart and asked the Beast King court to intervene. Listening to Lao San's words, he directly turned around and attacked Lin Yuan. Even if that black snake didn't die, he would lose a layer of skin. But now, he had attracted the attention of the three great Beast Kings and a group of great Beast Kings. Even if he wanted to make a move on Lin Yuan, he would have to think twice. However, he didn't dare to say that this matter was over. After all, Raymond was already quite dissatisfied with him coming to this meeting. If he said that he didn't want to pursue the Black Snake's actions now, not only would he lose face, these great Beast Kings would also accuse him of fooling around with them. I also don't wish for the Beast King court to intervene in the dispute between me and that Black Snake. It's just that the Black Snake didn't even say a word to me and recruited a large number of demi-humans to attack my Green Swamp clan's children. If this matter were to spread, I'm afraid that people would look down on us Yao beasts. It's inevitable that people would say that our Hengduan mountain range is getting worse with each generation. Even the most outstanding Beast Kings in recent years have to rely on the strength of the demi-humans. Rock Skin swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said in a deep voice, "This humble one dares to ask Lord Beast King to make the decision. Let my Green Swamp clan's children compete with that Black Snake. My Green Swamp clan will send a child who has just entered the Mountain Lord realm to fight it. As long as the Black Snake accepts the challenge, regardless of the outcome, I will not be bothered about this matter." Just entered the Mountain Lord realm? Are you sure? Subaru, who was a man of few words, revealed a sinister smile and asked Rock Skin. Yes. Replying to the Ape King, although the origin of that Black Snake's bloodline is unknown, it is indeed noble. It imperceptibly exerts a great pressure on my Green Swamp Lizard clan. Therefore, I am not bullying it by sending a green swamp lizard who has just entered the Mountain Lord realm to fight it. Rock Skin nodded and became even more certain of his thoughts. Naturally, he wouldn't let the Yao beasts of his clan kill that black snake. After all, with so many big shots watching, if he still didn't know when to back down, then he would simply be making things difficult for himself. However, as long as that black snake accepted the challenge, he would be able to defeat the black snake that had never been defeated since it was born with a combat strength that was one realm higher than the black snake. This could be considered as a setback to the black snake's spirit. As long as he could regain his face, he could slowly settle the matter in the future. As for making the black snake pay a painful price and so on, Rock Skin had already thrown those thoughts to the back of his mind. He wasn't someone who didn't know the difference between life and death. Naturally, he wouldn't insist on fighting to the death with the black snake when the three beast kings had already made their stance clear. Moreover, it was rumored that Beast Lord Kirin favored the black snake. In that case, wouldn't it be child's play for the various factions to join forces to suppress the Green Swamp clan? Just like how Keiho could tolerate the Green Claw clan for the sake of long-term benefits, the Green Swamp clan also had to know when to back down. If they bit randomly like a mad dog, they would be the one getting beaten up in the end. Alright. The smile on Subaru's face became even more sinister, but he still nodded heavily. Keiho and Raymond both revealed looks of ridicule in their eyes, as if Rock Skin had made an extremely foolish decision. Beast Lord Kirin pondered for a moment before saying in a deep voice, a green swamp lizard that just entered the Mountain Lord realm against the black snake. Since this is clan leader Rock Skin's idea, then let's do it this way. Although he wanted to help Lin Yuan suppress his arrogance and let him keep a low profile for a period of time, since Rock Skin had personally spoken, he naturally couldn't say much. Could it be that he had to argue with the three beast kings until his face turned red in anger to suppress Lin Yuan? Thank you, Lord Beast Lord, thank you, Lord Beast Lord. Rock Skin's face revealed a hint of joy as he repeatedly agreed. Chapter 382. Lord Beast Lord, it's rare for you to make a mistake. Keiho suddenly interjected with a charming smile. According to what I know, that little black snake obtained some sort of opportunity recently. Not only did it break through to the Mountain Lord realm, even its bloodline has advanced. You should call it Black Jiao from now on. Black Jiao. Rock Paper's legs suddenly went soft, and he almost knelt on the ground. His previous words weren't just for show. That black snake's bloodline was indeed of a higher grade than the green swamp lizard's. Moreover, the lizard was a hybrid of a dragon bloodline beast, so there would naturally be a bloodline suppression. However, the black snake's realm was there, so the suppression wasn't obvious. As a mountain lord, it could be said that it was easy to defeat the wisdom black snake. However, if the black snake broke through to the mountain lord realm, and its bloodline had advanced as well, then it would be a different matter altogether. Battles between Yao beasts weren't like battles between humans that paid attention to a certain point. Generally speaking, if Yao beasts didn't fight for territory, they would fight to the death for food to fill their stomachs. Thus, as long as both sides fought, it would be a battle to the death. Based on the black snake's style, it wouldn't care about the strength of the Green Swamp clan. Once they clashed, it would be a blessing for their clan members to be defeated by the black snake if they could keep their lives. But when it had already finished explaining the solution, Subaru, that scoundrel, had actually asked it if it was certain. If it were to change its mind now and deny this matter, Subaru would probably tear it apart in the royal court's assembly hall. On the other side, Lin Yuan, who was conversing with Wan Yu, had a sly look in his eyes. He sneered. Friend? Enemy? It's just a relative relationship. My existence is in the way of the Green Marsh clan, so we're enemies. On the other hand, as long as I control the northern region, I can bring great benefits to the beast kings of the Hengduan mountain range, so we're friends. Do you think a friend should help a friend or help a stranger? The three beast kings and a group of big shots stood on Lin Yuan's side, not because they wanted to curry favor with Lin Yuan, and not because their relationship with the Green Marsh clan was bad. It was more because the benefits that Lin Yuan could bring them were not something they could refuse. Indeed, the strength of these demonic beasts was very strong. Any one of them could easily sweep through the northern frontier. However, with the combined pressure of the 7 majestic empires, even a great beast king would not be able to escape unscathed, let alone an ordinary demonic beast. Even if they had reached the desolate demon realm and wanted to increase their cultivation, which of the demonic beasts that could step into the desolate demon realm had not lived for close to 100 years, or even several hundred years? They had no use for the demonic beasts that Lin Yuan sent to the Hengduan mountain range, but their clans and descendants could use them. Even if it was a demonic beast that was difficult to obtain, they could still grit their teeth and pay a certain price to obtain it from Lin Yuan. Ever since Lin Yuan started his business of buying and selling demonic beasts, the cultivation speed of the Hengduan mountain range's demonic beasts had at least doubled. Some demonic beasts that had no hope of breaking through to the Mountain Lord realm or even the desolate demon realm could now see the hope of breaking through. Even if Lin Yuan did not have a good reputation in the Hengduan mountain range. But, what does that matter? As long as Lin Yuan could bring them enough benefits, it would be fine. Brilliant, truly brilliant. Wan Yu praised Lin Yuan with a smile. With her intelligence, she naturally saw that while Lin Yuan was giving away a portion of the benefits, he was also giving the demonic beasts a sufficient warning. The Green Marsh clan's thinking was not wrong. Even if they could not replace Lin Yuan's position in controlling the northern frontier, as long as they could swallow up Lin Yuan's territory in the Hengduan mountain range, when the time came, Lin Yuan would still have to depend on them if he wanted to obtain the demonic beasts. However, Lin Yuan's attitude was also very clear. If you help me, then I'm friends. There's no problem in creating benefits for each other, but if you stand on the opposite side of me, then I'm sorry. At worst, I'll just give up my territory in the Hengduan mountain range and concentrate on managing the northern frontier. When the time comes, everyone will go their separate ways and no one will end up well. In addition, Wan Yu also saw the intensity of the faction struggle in the royal court. Lin Yuan being able to bring benefits was one thing, but in the past few years, the Green Marsh clan's actions of crazily annexing territories and vassal little beast kings had undoubtedly caused the dissatisfaction of those big shots who had the qualifications to participate in the royal court's discussions. Therefore, between Lin Yuan, this new little beast king, and the Green Marsh clan, the big shots would definitely choose to suppress the Green Marsh clan and support Lin Yuan. After all, if the Green Marsh clan continued to grow, they might not be able to suppress the Green Marsh clan. Don't think that Lin Yuan's words were simple. Behind this matter, there was an extremely complicated relationship of benefits. After a long while, Wan Yu suddenly opened her mouth and asked, with the 3 great beast kings joining hands to protect you, in addition to those big shots who have the qualifications to participate in the royal court's discussions, aren't you afraid that those demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range who have the qualifications to compete for the position of beast king will all see you as a thorn in their side? Lin Yuan's expression slightly stiffened. The atmosphere suddenly quieted down. After about 3 breaths of time, a big bird with feathers all over its body flashing with green light flew over. Before it landed on the ground, it already opened its mouth and said, "Black Jiao Lin Yuan, you attacked the Green Marsh clan's territory without declaring war. After the royal court's deliberation, we've decided that you are guilty. We'll give you 3 days to quickly come to the Demon Beast Royal Court and accept your punishment." When its voice fell, the big bird also landed beside Lin Yuan and said with a smile, "Little Black Jiao, you have quite the face. To be able to make the 3 great beast kings simultaneously speak out to protect you, but unfortunately, Lord Beast King doesn't intend to let this matter go so easily. He even specially asked Rock Skin to come up with a solution. In the end, Rock Skin actually said that he won't bully you and will send a demon beast who has just entered the Mountain Lord realm to fight with you. I reckon that he still thinks that you are that little wisdom stage black snake from before and wants to use his subordinate demon beast to dampen your spirit and regain some face at the same time." Lin Yuan and Wan Yu looked at each other and both let out a long sigh. They were afraid that the demon beast royal court would tacitly agree that Lin Yuan wasn't in the wrong and refuse to deal with this matter. In that case, even if this matter wasn't serious, Lin Yuan would still become the target of all the Beast King candidates. Once the competition for the position of Beast King began, as long as Lin Yuan didn't withdraw, those candidates wouldn't let him go. Now that the Demon Beast Royal Court had decided that Lin Yuan was in the wrong and even asked Rock Skin to come up with a solution, to Lin Yuan, this was the best outcome. At least he wouldn't have to worry about going against half of the Hengduan mountain range in the future. Received, I've troubled Lord to make this trip. Lin Yuan gave Wan Yu a look. Wan Yu immediately took out a box of spirit items that she had prepared beforehand and handed it over to the green bird that came to deliver the letter. Chapter 383. 3 days later. Hengduan Mountains, Monster King Court, Black and White Stage. The Black and White Stage was one of the oldest facilities of the Monster King Court. After the majority of monsters were found guilty by the court, they would apply for release through a duel. Once they stepped onto the Black and White Stage, the defendant would engage in a life and death battle with the plaintiff. Regardless of whether they were really wrong or not, the final victor would be justice. Although Lin Yuan wasn't directly detained by the Monster King Court, Rock Skin proposed to use a duel to resolve this dispute that it didn't know how to deal with. Thus, the Black and White Stage was a necessary procedure. Lin Yuan stood beside the Black and White Stage. Suhibaru, whose body was covered in golden fur, crossed his arms and said in a deep voice, "Boy, you can be considered the most outstanding new Monster King under my command. In a while, when you get on the Black and White Stage, I will take care of you no matter what. But if you lose my face, I will take care of you later." When standing beside Lin Yuan, Suhibaru didn't have the appearance of a man who cherished his words as if they were gold. Although in terms of bloodline, Lin Yuan should be closer to Keiho, after all, Lin Yuan became a monster king in the Stoneclaw Forest. Moreover, he was recognized by the Stoneclaw clan. In a sense, Lin Yuan could be considered a direct subordinate of Suhibaru. In addition, Lin Yuan represented terrifying benefits. If Suhibaru, who was known as the Saint Heart Ape King, still didn't know how to get close to Lin Yuan, then he didn't deserve the two words Saint Heart. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes and said in a deep voice, "Great Monster King, don't worry. I specially came here today to solve a problem, not to cause trouble. Not to mention that I really have a conflict with the Green Swamp clan, even if it's just a show, I will definitely greet them to death." In order to solve the covetous eyes of the various clans in the Hengduan Mountains, Lin Yuan's best method was to show off his strength. Those clans that weren't strong enough would naturally understand that Lin Yuan wasn't an existence they could provoke. 3 days ago, Lin Yuan sent the demi-humans to attack the monster kings attached to the Green Swamp clan to show off his power. Today's battle was to show off his strength. Soon, a sturdy green marsh lizard quickly walked onto the Black and White Stage. It looked around coldly and finally fixed its gaze on Lin Yuan. It said in a low and muffled voice, "Black Snake, you have the guts to kill my younger brother, Blood Claw, but don't have the guts to fight me on the stage. What's the difference between you and a weak human being if you dawdle down there?" Hearing this, the corner of Lin Yuan's mouth twitched slightly. His gaze paused for a moment on the indifferent Rock Skin and he immediately understood Rock Skin's thoughts. A green swamp lizard that had just entered the Mountain Lord realm might not be Lin Yuan's match in terms of combat strength. Moreover, with Lin Yuan's invisible bloodline suppression, it would be extremely difficult for it to win. Moreover, with the enmity between them, it was naturally impossible for Rock Skin to be willing to send his green swamp lizard with potential to fight. Therefore, at this moment, Rock Skin sent out this fellow who seemed to have muscles in his brain. In the next moment, Lin Yuan's figure moved and directly disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, his fierce dragon tail was already smashing towards the green swamp lizard's face. With the sea-suppressing tail, Lin Yuan's attack was now as high as 500 points. In addition to the 50 points of true damage from the skill, if this attack landed, not to mention the fact that this lizard was just a little stupid, even if it had trained its brain into muscles, it would still die on the spot. However, there was a reason why this stupid green swamp lizard could survive until today. At the very least, its combat awareness was abnormally sharp. The moment Lin Yuan swung his tail, it had already determined that it couldn't withstand this attack. Therefore, it immediately dodged. However, its speed wasn't as fast as Lin Yuan's. When it twisted halfway, Lin Yuan's dragon tail had already fiercely lashed at it. Therefore, the green swamp lizard could only grit its teeth and use its tail to strike Lin Yuan's tail. Bang! A muffled sound reverberated. The moment the green swamp lizard's tail came into contact with Lin Yuan's dragon tail, it was directly smashed into a pile of meat paste. Lizards obviously didn't have this ability. The moment its tail was smashed, the green swamp lizard's expression became sinister and twisted like a demon that had crawled out from hell. Hiss! Hiss! The sound of cold breaths being sucked and instantly rang out. The demonic beasts that were qualified to watch the battle near the black and white stage were at least existences of the fourth stage of the Mountain Lord realm. Once an expert made a move, it would be obvious whether they were experts or not. Lin Yuan's tail swing was too fast, too fierce, and too ruthless. Many demonic beasts switched themselves with the green swamp lizard in their minds and simulated the battle with Lin Yuan. They were all shocked to realize that even if they were in Lin Yuan's position, they wouldn't be able to dodge Lin Yuan's swift and fierce tail swing without being prepared. After breaking the green swamp lizard's tail, although the sea-suppressing tail had entered a 5-minute cooldown, Lin Yuan didn't seem to have any intention of stopping his attack. The black dragon body crazily swung, whipping the green swamp lizard's body again and again. At first, the green swamp lizard still tried to struggle and counterattack. However, after several futile attempts, it seemed to have accepted its fate and began to protect its vital parts, allowing Lin Yuan to whip it. This time, Rock Skin finally couldn't maintain his calm expression. Although he knew that he would be the loser of this battle, there were ways to lose beautifully. The green swamp lizard situation of being beaten by Lin Yuan was undoubtedly the most humiliating way. Rock Skin originally thought that the Green Swamp clan would be able to fight Lin Yuan to a draw with its superior combat instincts. However, it didn't expect that one of its tails would be crippled in just one exchange. Moreover, it even fell into Lin Yuan's attack rhythm. If it lost, wouldn't the other demonic beasts think that the Green Swamp clan was just so-so, and that they didn't even have the ability to fight back against a demonic beast of the same level? However, Lin Yuan, who had been fighting for a long time, keenly sensed that something was wrong. This green swamp lizard seemed to be taking a beating, but its footsteps and breathing were extremely stable. Obviously, apart from the sea-suppressing tail that carried true damage, it wasn't very difficult for the green swamp lizard, whose muscles were extremely tough, to parry Lin Yuan's storm-like whip strikes. Its current actions were completely to show that it was weak. It's familiarizing itself with my attack rhythm? Interesting. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed, and the battle intent in his heart began to burn. Adapting to the opponent's attack rhythm, then taking advantage of the opponent's unpreparedness to deal a fatal blow. Lin Yuan had just played this trick once in the secret realm. He didn't expect to encounter a similar combat style so soon. Rock Skin probably didn't know that he had chosen a genius with an extremely strong combat awareness as trash and sent him to Lin Yuan. Chapter 384. After figuring out the big lizard's strategy, Lin Yuan naturally wouldn't grit his teeth and suffer a loss. He changed his attack style and purposely revealed an opening. On the surface, he pretended to be exhausted. How could the big lizard let go of such a good opportunity? Almost at the same time Lin Yuan revealed an opening, the big lizard, which had been taking a beating, suddenly stretched out its claw and went straight for Lin Yuan's vital point. If ordinary demonic beasts were here to watch the battle, they might only feel that the two demonic beasts on the black and white stage were fast and fierce. However, of the demonic beasts who were qualified to watch the battle today, which one of them wasn't an expert who had climbed up from countless battles? When Lin Yuan purposely revealed an opening and the big lizard stretched out its claw to attack, they had already figured out that the two demon beasts on the field had just engaged in a psychological game. This lizard is going to be at a disadvantage. Raymond's lightning-like eyes lit up slightly. As the most belligerent of the three demon beast kings, the Honed Ice Wolf King was very clear that the two demon beasts fighting on the field were both rare geniuses in battle. If it weren't for its status and position, it would have personally intervened and taken the big lizard as its subordinate. After all, with Lin Yuan's current status, it wouldn't be able to persuade Lin Yuan to do anything. Even if it did take Lin Yuan as its subordinate, it didn't have the ability to command Lin Yuan to do anything. This youngster who had only been born last year was not inferior to its seniors at all. Moreover, today's battle was a stage for Lin Yuan to prove himself. If the demon beasts found by Rock Skin could defeat Lin Yuan in battle, they could naturally act as mediators and protect Lin Yuan. At the same time, they could also see if they could steal Lin Yuan from him. However, Lin Yuan wasn't at a disadvantage right now. He had even prepared a trap for the big lizard to jump into. Thinking of the benefits Lin Yuan could bring to himself and his subordinates, Raymond's mouth twitched, but he didn't say anything. Sure enough, the moment the big lizard stretched out its claw, Lin Yuan, who had long been prepared, suddenly pulled back. The big lizard's attack, which had been accumulating power for a long time, instantly missed. Moreover, it fell into an awkward state where it had used up all its strength and hadn't recovered its strength yet. However, Lin Yuan clearly didn't intend to miss this round and start all over again. He adjusted his posture in midair and fiercely whipped his tail at the big lizard's face. There's still more. Keiho suddenly said, her gaze falling on the big lizard's bulging cheeks. When it came to poison, snake-type demon beasts were almost superior to most demon beasts. However, nothing was absolute. For example, the green swamp lizard wasn't inferior to snake-type demon beasts in terms of poison. Otherwise, Keiho wouldn't have suffered heavy casualties when defending against the Green Swamp clan's territorial struggle. Seeing that the big lizard seemed to be holding something in its mouth, Keiho knew that this big lizard wasn't just preparing for a simple attack. It had other tricks up its sleeve. When Lin Yuan pulled back, the big lizard pondered for a moment. Then, it decisively opened its mouth and spat out a cloud of dark green gas, which turned into a column of smoke and crashed towards Lin Yuan. Good heavens! All the demon beasts watching the battle, including Lin Yuan, clearly didn't expect the big lizard to be so well prepared. It even considered that Lin Yuan had purposely exposed a flaw to lure it into a trap. Most of the demon beasts were interested. After all, poison wasn't something to be trifled with. If it was mild, it could cripple one, and if it was severe, it could even cause one to lose one's life. Even at their level, they definitely wouldn't want to be contaminated with such things if they could avoid it. Even if it was some weak poison that wouldn't affect them for a while, it would become a hidden danger after a long time, not to mention the poison used in a battle of life and death. They were very interested in how Lin Yuan would deal with the big lizard's poisonous smoke. However, Lin Yuan was only slightly surprised for a moment. He still didn't show any signs of stopping his attacks, as if he didn't care about the big lizard's poisonous smoke at all. However, when the poisonous smoke was about to touch Lin Yuan, walls made of ice crystals instantly condensed and directly blocked the way of the poisonous smoke. Before the poisonous smoke dispersed, the ice walls twisted again and directly wrapped the poisonous smoke inside, forming a crystal-clear ice ball. The demon beasts could even clearly see the poisonous smoke rolling in the hollow ice ball. The big lizard's prepared killing move was easily broken by Lin Yuan. The smug look in its eyes disappeared instantly. Looking at Lin Yuan's tail that was smashing towards its face, it tried to dodge as if it had just woken up from a dream. After all, in its plan, even if Lin Yuan didn't get hit, he would have to distance himself again to dodge its poisonous smoke. It completely didn't expect the situation to turn out like this. Bang! It took a direct hit from Lin Yuan's tail head-on. The big lizard took a few steps back, and a large part of its head was visibly dented. Even its eyes were red. It wasn't because of anger, but because Lin Yuan's tail attack had oppressed its visual nerves and some of its blood vessels. That was why it looked so ferocious now. The corner of Rock Skin's mouth twitched slightly. This big lizard, which was usually so stupid that it was almost stupid, was the existence that Rock Skin had carefully selected to die. However, the big lizard was able to withstand Lin Yuan's bloodline pressure until now and didn't show any signs of being defeated. Even Rock Skin was stunned by the two moves just now. How could Rock Skin not know that this abandoned child was actually a rare genius, but it only knew how to fight and cultivate? A good seedling was destined to fall in the hands of Lin Yuan today. After all, as the landmark of the Monster King Court, the black and white platform wasn't something that could be casually used. Once both sides voluntarily stepped on the black and white platform, unless the three great beast kings and the beast master spoke together, they wouldn't give up. Otherwise, even if both sides had put down their grudges and were willing to shake hands and make peace, they would still have to fight to the death on the black and white platform. The beast master Kirin's intentions were very difficult to guess. After all, the thunderbolts and rain were all King's grace. Rock Skin didn't think that the beast master Kirin could suppress the three great beast kings and force him to come up with a solution to solve this problem. Lin Yuan's current position in the Hengduan mountain range was much higher than the Green Swamp clan. In addition, the battle strength of Lin Yuan's subordinates were generally low, so they were relatively easy to control. On the contrary, the Green Swamp clan had been fighting for territory these years. Even Cao Ji, the great beast king, had been offended by it. If the king court didn't take this opportunity to make the Green Swamp clan bleed, Rock Skin would be walking backwards from now on. If he knew that this black Jiao was growing so fast, he wouldn't have offended Lin Yuan no matter what. Otherwise, with Lin Yuan's help, perhaps within 1 or 2 years, he would also be one of the great beast kings. He wouldn't need to look at the faces of other monster kings anymore. Chapter 385. Lin Yuan was not surprised to see that the big lizard was only injured and not killed. After all, without the 50 points of true damage from the sea-suppressing tail, no matter how ferocious his attacks were, they would be reduced by half by the lizard's defense. Lin Yuan did not think that he was strong enough to kill a demon beast of the same level with his physical fitness. The sea-suppressing tail was still in cooldown, so were the Water King and Formless Ice. Lin Yuan did not want to expose his killer move, Void's Embrace, in public, so he had very few moves to use. Although he could kill the big lizard with his own attributes, that kind of victory was not what Lin Yuan needed. A battle to show off his strength ended in a bloody battle. Although the result was the same, the deterrence was completely different. Lin Yuan's black body flew in the air, and his heterochromatic eyes coldly sized up the big lizard. The big lizard turned its body with Lin Yuan, and its red eyes were full of vigilance. Swish! Lin Yuan moved again. The big lizard dodged subconsciously. However, in the next moment, the huge black Jiao disappeared from everyone's sight. It's that piece of ice. A light flashed in the Honan Ice Wolf King's eyes, and it murmured, "This kid is really interesting. It's only a water snake that was born with the ice element talent by chance, but its use of the ice element talent is far better than most ice element demonic beasts. He's a good seedling." As the strongest ice element demonic beast in the Hengduan mountain range, the Honan Ice Wolf King once froze 3 cities at the border of the Qialos Empire with a wolf howl. There were nearly 1 billion people in the 3 cities, but they all disappeared with a wolf howl. Even now, more than 10 years later, the Honan Ice Wolf King's name was still effective in stopping children from crying at night in the Qialos Empire. Such a strong person commented that Lin Yuan was extremely skillful in the use of ice talent. Even if most of the demonic beasts didn't know how many tricks there were, they knew that this black snake was really amazing. Many ice-type beasts even fell into deep thought. What Lin Yuan used was nothing more than a little trick. He used the ice layer to refract sunlight to create a blind spot. Even if Lin Yuan was still in that area, he wouldn't be able to see it with the naked eye. In the past, the profound ice duck had used a similar method to create an illusion that could be seen but could not be touched to confuse the Crimson Flame Crocodile King. Now, Lin Yuan was also using this little trick to hide his body. However, such a simple trick was not something that all ice-type beasts could think of. Even if they could, they might not be able to replicate it. As a combat genius, the big lizard did not panic when it saw that Lin Yuan had hidden himself. Instead, it closed its eyes and began to use its other senses to search for Lin Yuan. Just like how many blind people's sense of hearing and smell were several times more sensitive than ordinary people's, when it closed its eyes, its other senses would be enhanced to a certain extent. Soon, the big lizard closed its eyes and charged toward the area where Lin Yuan was. Lin Yuan, who was accumulating strength, was slightly surprised. However, he had to get up and swing his tail at the big lizard. He didn't know how the big lizard found him. It used the ice layer and light to block its vision, and there was no smell on it. In addition, Lin Yuan did not touch the ground at all. He had been hovering in the air. No matter whether it was sight, smell, or hearing, there was no way to locate Lin Yuan. However, if it was just luck, it was too much of a coincidence. On such a large black and white platform, the big lizard did not go anywhere but came straight for him. Could it be described as luck? The snake tail and the big lizard's head collided again. This time, the big lizard did not retreat half a step, but Lin Yuan was instantly sent flying a long distance away. He was directly pushed out of the blind spot of the group of monsters, and his figure was revealed again. Could it be that this guy did something to me? Lin Yuan thought to himself. Although he did not think that the big lizard had the ability to hide from him and the system, Lin Yuan could not help but suspect what had happened just now. Otherwise, he could not explain how the big lizard could accurately locate his position and launch the charge without holding back at all. Berserk! When the big lizard opened its eyes and looked at Lin Yuan again, a big shot of the desolate demon realm exclaimed in a low voice. Most demonic beasts had mixed bloodlines, but some demonic beasts with pure bloodlines had abilities that other mixed-blood demonic beasts did not have. For example, Berserk was one of them. It could greatly increase the attributes of a demonic beast for a short period of time. However, the side effects were also very obvious. After activating Berserk, a demonic beast would become irritable and would attack all the creatures around it. The big lizard's action just now was because it had detected Lin Yuan's existence after activating Berserk. Driven by the side effects, it launched such a desperate charge. Unfortunately, the big lizard's full charge only pushed Lin Yuan out of the range of the camouflage. It was still a long way from seriously injuring Lin Yuan. Moreover, there was not much time left for the big lizard. Once Berserk ended, the big lizard would fall into an extremely weak state before it defeated or killed Lin Yuan. You really dare to gamble? Subaru crossed his arms in front of his chest and commented with a click of his tongue. None of the spectators here were from the desolate demon realm. Even if they did not consider the strength of the clan behind them, any one of them could easily crush this big lizard. However, the big lizard still activated Berserk, as if it was sure that it could find Lin Yuan and was not worried about offending the leaders of the other clans. Of course, there was nothing wrong with this mentality. In any case, the Beast Master and the three Beast Kings would not speak at the same time. The big lizard and Lin Yuan were going to fight to the death. If it gambled, it would die. If it did not gamble, it would die. If it could end the battle now, the big lizard would live. It seems that our clan leader Rockhide really wants to win, Keiho said with a smile. Keiho also said with a smile. She looked at Rocky with a mocking gaze. Demonic beasts that could activate Berserk were all people with pure bloodlines. Such an existence could be said to be as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns in the grassy swamp where demonic beasts of various clans lived together. Moreover, the big lizard was not the only one. Many of the big shots who were paying attention to Lin Yuan had records of its younger brother, Blood Claw. An intelligence realm mixed-blood lizard could only get the position of commander in the grassy swamp clan. It could be said that it was trash among trash. Chapter 386. Despite having such a trashy younger brother, the big lizard was a demon beast with a pure bloodline. Without a doubt, this guy's luck was ridiculously good, encountering the countless possibilities of atavism. His bloodline was closer to the green marsh lizard's ancestor than Rockhide. After all, the green marsh lizard's ancestor was able to conquer the green marsh, a territory close to the Hengduan mountain range, and leave it to his descendants. Clearly, the green marsh lizard's ancestor was an outstanding existence. At this moment, Rockhide was so regretful that his intestines turned green. Not only was this big lizard a genius in battle, it was also an existence whose bloodline had atavism. It could be said that it was a natural aristocrat in the demon beast world. If it could be properly nurtured, the big lizard could at least replace any one of the 3 desolate beasts and continue to protect the Green Marsh clan. Even if it didn't have the prestige of the Green Marsh clan today, its strength wouldn't be too bad. At the very least, it could protect 70% of the Green Marsh clan's territory from falling into the hands of other clans. But it was this kind of future hope that it had personally delivered to the blade of the Grim Reaper. As for Keiho's words, it was more of a sarcastic mockery. She just wanted to slap Rockhide's face in front of everyone. They were all demon beasts of the Hengduan mountain range. How could they not know each other? Ever since Rockhide knew of Lin Yuan's cultivation, he didn't have the slightest intention of winning this battle. He went back and picked a guy who thought he was trash to fool around with. But he didn't expect that he would lose his own treasure. Rockhide pondered for a moment. Ignoring the heat on his face, he quickly walked to the side of the 3 great beast kings and said in a low voice, "We are all brothers and sisters of the Hengduan mountain range. If I have offended you in any way in the past, I ask the 3 great beast kings to forgive this little brother. Today's matter. Speak frankly, what's the price?" Subaru couldn't be bothered to play this game with Rockhide and directly interrupted his hypocrisy. When Rockhide moved his butt, the 3 beast kings already knew what Rockhide was planning to do. He wanted to make the 3 beast kings stop the battle, so that Rockhide could ask Beast King Kirin to stop the battle. Although Rockhide was pained by the price he had to pay, he had no choice but to do it for the future of the Green Marsh clan. Although the 3 beast kings were on Lin Yuan's side, strictly speaking, they only cared about the benefits that Lin Yuan could bring to them in the future. But now that Rock Peter was willing to sacrifice himself, they naturally had no reason to reject him. Unlike the benefits that Lin Yuan could bring to them in the future, Rock Peter just had to open his mouth and they would be able to obtain the benefits that were readily available. Seeing how straightforward Subaru was, Rockhide stopped pretending and said in a deep voice, "This little brother has offended you in the past. I ask the 3 beast kings to make a price. Regardless of whether it's fair or not, consider it my apology to the 3 beast kings." Rockhide, who was able to develop the Green Marsh clan from the grassy swamp to its current state, definitely wouldn't do something like this. After all, if he offered too little, he would offend the beast kings and definitely not be able to keep the lizard. But if he offered too much, it would be a huge loss. So he gave the 3 beast kings the opportunity to bid. As long as it wasn't lower than his estimation of the lizard's future, Rockhide was willing to accept it. After all, when it came to buying, even if a price was called out, there was still room for negotiation, right? I want 5 million demonic beasts, whether it's the lizard of the Green Marsh clan or the demonic beasts that are attached to your Green Marsh clan. Recently, the Gallo dynasty has been restless in the demonic beast forest. I reckon that they want to expand 1 or 2 border cities. So, there will be a tough battle on my side soon, and I'm currently lacking in combat power. Raymond took the lead and stated his conditions. Rockhide's mouth twitched slightly. He completely didn't expect that Raymond didn't want territory or spirit items. The moment he opened his mouth, he wanted to send the demonic beasts under his command to assist in the battle. This was a solid blow to Rockhide's body. 5 million demonic beasts sounded like a lot, but in reality, it wasn't much. For demonic beasts with extremely high reproductive abilities, they could easily produce dozens of young demonic beasts in a single year. Even if only a tenth of them could become demonic beasts, they could still provide a dozen or so demonic beasts for the clan every year. And when these demonic beasts grew up, they would form new families, which was why demonic beasts were divided into so many tribes and clans. A mere 5 million demonic beasts was something the Green Swamp clan could gather in a single day. However, these demonic beasts were all borrowed by Raymond. As long as the war over there ended, these demonic beasts would have to be returned to the Green Marsh clan. Therefore, Raymond would definitely use these demonic beasts as cannon fodder. When the time came, Raymond would be merciful if only 100,000 of the 5 million demonic beasts could survive. Therefore, in order to send out these 5 million demonic beasts, Rock Skin would have to give the clans under his command sufficient benefits. Otherwise, there would definitely be a shortage of demonic beasts. Even if there were enough demonic beasts, there was no guarantee that Raymond wouldn't come looking for trouble after the war. Wolf King, it's not that this little brother doesn't want to give you face, but the Green Marsh clan's manpower has been very tight recently. Especially with that black snake attacking without declaring war and slaughtering my Green Marsh clan's demonic beasts, we've lost a large number of people. There are also some demonic beasts who saw that our Green Marsh clan was in trouble and announced their departure before the black snake attacked. There are even some who want to take advantage of the situation to rob us. I'm also in a terrible fix. Rockhide rubbed his claws in fear and said in a deep voice, 5 million demonic beasts, the Green Marsh clan definitely won't be able to gather that much in a short period of time. What this little brother can promise to the Wolf King is at most 3 million demonic beasts. Moreover, I can guarantee that at least a quarter of these 3 million demonic beasts will be lizard men. Equipped with the various military equipment purchased from the human caravans, the combat strength of these 3 million demonic beasts will definitely be much stronger than 5 million ordinary demonic beasts. Raymond pondered for a moment, then narrowed his eyes and asked, "Are you bargaining with me?" "I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare." Rockhide waved his claws and sighed, this little brother really wants to, but his strength is lacking. It's not very possible to gather 5 million demonic beasts for the Wolf King. The only thing this little brother can do is to convince the demonic beasts of my clan. Of these 3 million demonic beasts, I can guarantee that at least a third, and close to half, will be lizard men who have just upgraded their equipment. Oh, that's a bit sincere. Raymond nodded his head in satisfaction and said, then I'll consider you to have passed my test. Remember, once my conscription order reaches the Green Marsh clan, I want to see the demonic beast army you've prepared set out. Otherwise, don't blame me for not fighting with the humans and attacking you first. Chapter 387. The frigid Wolf King's territory wasn't a peaceful place. It was adjacent to the border cities of the Jialu, Qingjiang, and Luofeng dynasties. Whenever the three dynasties coveted the Hengduan Mountains, the frigid Wolf King had to stand up and organize the Yao beasts to counterattack the humans, regardless of whether the frigid Wolf King was willing or not. He didn't expect to kill a lot of humans, but he could at least protect the Yao beast forest as a buffer zone from being occupied by the humans. It was a true battleground. After all, while fighting the humans, he also had to guard against the cold knives from the various Yao beast clans in the Hengduan Mountains. After getting past Raymond, Rockhide finally let out a sigh of relief and looked at Keiho. Keiho snorted coldly and didn't look at Rockhide. Rockhide smiled and said confidently, I know how dissatisfied the colorful Snake Queen is with me. Although your clansmen lost a few territories to me back then, and although they are no longer under the control of my Green Swamp clan, if the Snake Queen is willing to wait for a while, this little brother is willing to take back those territories and offer them to the Snake Queen. It was true that Keiho and Rockhide had a conflict, but it was still the same old saying. At the level of a great beast king, they didn't care about how many territories they had under their name, nor did they care about how much profit those territories could bring them. They cared more about the situation of the entire Hengduan Mountains. Of course, they also cared about their own reputation. The Yao beasts under Keiho's command lost their territories. A great beast king couldn't even compete with a great beast king who wasn't even a great beast king candidate. This matter wasn't a big deal, but it wasn't a small one either. At the time, it caused a lot of waves. Many Yao beasts with ulterior motives even spread rumors that Keiho didn't have the ability to be a great beast king. However, these Yao beasts with ulterior motives didn't end up well in Keiho's hands, so the other Yao beasts gradually forgot about this matter. All these years, the grudge between Rockhide and Keiho was because Rockhide had made Keiho lose face. As long as Rockhide could lower his head and regain his reputation for Keiho, letting him go would be a piece of cake. Keiho naturally wouldn't push him to his death as the leader of the Green Swamp clan. It's just a few lousy territories. Do you think this king really cares about them? Keiho rolled her eyes at Ikigami, but she honestly took a step back. Ape King, you, Rock Skin rubbed his claws with a worried expression on his face. After all, the Black Snake King was a clan subordinate, and the other two Beast Kings didn't. But today's matter involved Suhiro's reputation was a matter. If it was Sui King's reputation was a matter. But, today, SSS. Was King's reputations as. This king to the swamp understand clan, and swamp. And, as well. Clan, TTT, it's. This king. This. Ants to. The, S. S was. Hearing this, Rock Skin's face lit up with joy. But. Suhiro didn't wait for Rockhide to speak. He suddenly changed the topic and said, if you do something wrong, you have to pay the price. From tomorrow until today, 60% of the phase produced by the Green Swamp clan's territory will be offered to the royal court. Once the deal is done, it will be given to the Black Jiao. I will arrange for a few beast kings to stay in the grassy swamp to supervise this matter. Do you have any objections? This. Rockhide's expression became increasingly stiff. In order to gather an army of 3 million demonic beasts for Raymond, the Green Swamp clan would have to pay a considerable amount of spiritual items. Keiho's previous territories were indeed no longer under the Green Swamp clan's control. If the Green Swamp clan wanted to take them back, they would have to resort to extreme methods such as war and land swapping. This would be a considerable expenditure that would almost empty the Green Swamp clan's treasury. In fact, even the Green Swamp clan's treasury would be damaged by half. Now, Suhiro was pulling the carpet from under him. What did it mean to only be able to harvest 30% of the phase in the territory in 3 years? The grassy swamp's territory wasn't small, and 30% of the phase was a considerable amount. But for cultivation resources like phase, once they matured, apart from a few that needed to wait for their age to be effective, most of them were directly eaten by the phase. The Green Swamp clan produced a lot of phase in a year, but they also consumed a lot of phase. 30% of the phase might barely be enough to fill their stomachs. Moreover, weren't those small beast kings attached themselves to Rockhide because of the Green Swamp clan's reputation? Now that they were hanging the Green Swamp clan's banner, they could only get 30% of the phase produced in their territory. If those beast kings didn't take this opportunity to leave the Green Swamp clan, Rockhide would directly pluck off his head and let Lin Yuan kick it like a ball. At this moment, Rockhide was finally certain that the 3 beast kings couldn't stand the Green Swamp clan anymore. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they had been thinking about weakening the Green Swamp clan for a long time. Lin Yuan was just a blade in their hands. A cold glint flashed in Rockhide's eyes, but just like Suhiro, this cold glint only lasted for a moment before disappearing without a trace. He said with an obsequious smile, Ape King, this little brother feels deeply guilty and is indeed willing to accept punishment. But now, the Green Swamp clan has just experienced a war, and the dead phase have yet to be properly dealt with. Their descendants also need to be provided for by the clan. This will almost empty half of the Green Swamp clan's savings. I still need to give phase to the Wolf King and Snake Queen. What do you think about this? That's your problem, it has nothing to do with us. Suhiro grinned malevolently at Rockhide and said in a cold voice, you asked us to offer a price. Now that we've made it clear to you, I definitely don't have any room to bargain. If you're not willing, then I'll just treat your previous words as farts. Raymond smiled and said, Brother Rockhide, it's fine if you really can't take out phase. I've been in a state of war all year round. The 3 million Fae army is my concession to you, but if you really lack Faes to feed those Faes in the clan, we can't really go too far. How about this, you can have your Faes serve in my territory. Just like how humans hire demon slayers, I'll pay Faes to hire them to fight. The fee for this hire will also have to be paid according to what I said. 60% to the royal court, 10% to the Black Jiao. Subaru said to Raymond with a serious expression, as if he was afraid that Raymond would forget the price he offered. He didn't have the slightest intention of giving Rockhide a chance to drill, which made Rockhide's face burn with embarrassment. If it wasn't for the inappropriate atmosphere and environment, Rockhide wouldn't have been able to hold back his anger. Chapter 388. Of course, of course. Little brother naturally won't forget elder brother's words. Raymond also gave a hollow laugh. The 3 Beast Kings' resources and income were all directly deposited into the Monster Beast Imperial Court. Therefore, this 60% income was no different from going from left hand to right hand. Moreover, this was Raymond's own capital, the other 2 Beast Kings definitely wouldn't get a share. It was equivalent to Raymond only paying 40% of the cost to hire a group of elite monster beasts from the Green Swamp clan. Sword Face's face was as gloomy as water. Subaru's arms were still crossed in front of his chest as he coldly said, right now, you are the one who is begging us, not the one who is forcing you to take out these things. Provoking the Black Jiao was your own doing. You didn't want to suffer the consequences and ran to the Monster Beast Imperial Court to complain. In the end, you lifted a rock and smashed your own foot. Who can you blame? As long as you act as if nothing happened just now, then we have nothing to say. Keiho smiled and said, we are all brothers and sisters of the Hengduan mountain range. How can there be something like who is making things difficult for who? Rock Skin, we really won't force you to take out these things. I even hope that you will carefully consider whether it is worth it to pay such a huge price for a little brat who you don't even know if he can grow up. Rock Skin's face was as gloomy as water. He didn't respond to Keiho's words. When the 3 Beast Kings opened their mouths today, Rock Skin knew that the 3 Beast Kings had already checked the bottom line. Their goal was to empty out all the resources in the Green Swamp clan's hands. Taking benefits from the Green Swamp clan was secondary. More importantly, they wanted to suppress the Green Swamp clan. If Rock Skin really agreed to this condition, at least within 3 years, not only would the Green Swamp clan's strength not improve, it would even weaken due to the departure of countless little beast kings. However, not only would it sacrifice a good seedling if it didn't agree to the conditions of these 3 beast kings, but it might not even be able to protect the things in its hands. Lin Yuan was in the limelight at the moment, but his strength was still lacking. So, Lin Yuan was nothing more than a chess piece in the eyes of these 3 beast kings. Today, Lin Yuan could be this blade, and tomorrow, the other demon beasts could also be this blade. Sooner or later, the Green Marsh clan would fall apart due to the little tricks of these 3 great beast kings. Only when the 3 great beast kings had achieved their goal would they stop attacking the Green Marsh clan. Oh, no, at that time, the Green Marsh clan would no longer exist. I agree, I agree. Although Rock Skin's expression was still gloomy, he quickly compromised. He wasn't an ignorant fool. Since he was clear about the purpose of the 3 great beast kings, he wouldn't brace himself to confront them head-on. If he agreed, he would be able to maintain peace for at least 3 years. Who knows what changes would happen in the Hengduan Mountains by then? It was much better than being stabbed with a knife tomorrow and being stabbed with a spear in the back. At this moment, the berserk state of the giant lizard had reached its end. Its originally irritable momentum finally calmed down at this moment, and its face was filled with unconcealable exhaustion. After regaining its consciousness, the giant lizard glanced at Lin Yuan, who was more than 10 meters away from it, and closed its eyes as if it had accepted its fate. It had taken out all its trump cards, but it still couldn't do anything to Lin Yuan. Now, it no longer had the strength to continue fighting. When it faced Lin Yuan again, it had no other choice but to wait for its death. Lin Yuan's body arched slightly, and he was ready to shoot out and kill the giant lizard at any time. After all, the giant lizard in its berserk state was like a hedgehog, and he had no way to attack it. He was even beaten up badly by its crazy counterattacks. If it weren't for the support of the full-level golden body technique and the flood dragon scale armor, Lin Yuan probably wouldn't have been able to see much flesh on his body at this moment. Otherwise, he wouldn't have retreated more than 10 meters away and looked at the giant lizard in a frenzy. Boom! Just as Lin Yuan was about to rush out, a powerful momentum descended from the sky and directly fixed him in place. Under the suppression of this momentum, Lin Yuan turned his head with some difficulty and immediately saw Rock Skin standing with the 3 Beast Kings. After brainstorming for a bit, Lin Yuan quickly guessed why Subaru suddenly stopped him from killing the giant lizard. There were no eternal enemies or friends in the world, but benefits were definitely eternal. During the period when the giant lizard went berserk, Rock Skin probably gritted his teeth and paid a lot of blood before he agreed to let the 3 Beast Kings protect the giant lizard. At the beginning of this battle, the 3 Beast Kings were also prepared to protect Lin Yuan. After all, they had only heard a lot about Lin Yuan and didn't know much about him, so they couldn't be sure if Lin Yuan could win. However, the 3 Beast Kings didn't protect him because he had paid a heavy price, but because they wanted to earn endless benefits from him. Come here, I have something to tell you. Subaru waved at Lin Yuan, and his loud voice rang out first. After all, the Beast Kings who were watching the battle had seen it before. When they saw that the battle was suddenly interrupted and Rockskin was standing beside the big Beast Kings, they quickly realized what had happened. They couldn't help but twitch their lips. It had been a long time since they had seen such outstanding juniors fighting each other. They couldn't help but feel a little unhappy that the battle was suddenly interrupted. Lin Yuan nodded, and Subaru released the shackles on his body. Then, Lin Yuan turned his head and glanced at the dying giant lizard not far away. He could only grit his teeth and fly towards Subaru. In the end, it was because he wasn't strong enough. In the eyes of these Beast Kings, he could be used as a pawn to exchange benefits at any time. Lin Yuan wanted to take advantage of the moment when the Beast Kings let down their guard and directly kill the giant lizard that Rock Skin had paid a heavy price to protect. However, after thinking carefully, Lin Yuan gave up on this tempting idea. After all, the Beast Kings of the desolate demon realm weren't to be trifled with. Not to mention whether Lin Yuan had the strength to kill the giant lizard under their noses. Even if he had the strength, if he provoked these Beast Kings for the sake of revenge, would he still be able to do business in the northern frontier? However, in Lin Yuan's heart, he still listed the 3 Beast Kings as vengeful people. Indeed, he wasn't strong enough and deserved to be used as a pawn to exchange benefits. The rules of the world were like this. Aside from the existences standing at the top of the world, who wasn't a pawn in the hands of others? However, this feeling wasn't very pleasant. Therefore, after he had enough strength, Lin Yuan would sooner or later get back at them and properly vent his anger. When he thought of this, Lin Yuan had already flown in front of Subaru. Chapter 389. Subaru told Lin Yuan all the conditions that Rockhide had promised him, then transmitted his voice. This isn't something that can be decided by us subjects. The Green Swamp clan has been wantonly expanding their territory in the Hengduan mountain range all these years. They simply don't put us in their eyes. Suppressing them has always been the Beast Master's idea. I admit that you are indeed being used as a blade by us today, but your potential is right there. In the future, you will definitely surpass us and become the Beast Master. You might even become an existence even more terrifying than the current Beast Master. Therefore, we don't have any malice towards you. Lin Yuan indifferently glanced at Subaru. 10% of the Green Swamp clan's income had to be handed over to him. Don't underestimate this insignificant 10%. The difference between the Green Swamp clan and Lin Yuan's Stoneclaw Forest wasn't as simple as 1 or 2 grades. The Green Swamp clan's income in a year was at least 20 to 30 years of Stoneclaw Forest's income. This wasn't a small amount, and it was Subaru who had fought for it for him. This meant that Subaru really didn't have any malice towards him. Otherwise, if he had already done such a disgusting thing, why would he mind being even more disgusting? Even if the 3 Beast Masters took all the benefits for themselves, Lin Yuan couldn't turn hostile on the spot. After all, he still had to rely on the Hengduan mountain range's Fey business to stabilize the people of the northern frontier. Only then would he have enough funds and food to invest in the various projects that were under construction. The Hengduan mountain range's existence gave him convenience. He relied on the Hengduan mountain range to barely maintain the current idyllic situation of the northern frontier. Pa! Pa! Subaru lightly patted Lin Yuan's head and chuckled, "Do your best, young man. There are so many candidates for the position of Beast Master in the Hengduan mountain range, but this old man thinks highly of you. You started from scratch and even a desolate demon realm existence like Rockhide had to suffer in your hands. You are much stronger than those little bastards who relied on the clan's influence to become candidates." Raymond and Keiho were whispering something to each other. After all, Lin Yuan was nominally Suhibaru's man. If they rashly came over to pick him up, Suhibaru, the big brother, would not treat them well. After all, the Sacred Heart Ape King was the most realistic of the 3 great beast kings. Either there were enough benefits, or they had to give him enough face. Otherwise, if you made him unhappy, he could tear you into minced meat in minutes. Lin Yuan had obtained his share of benefits, Rockskin had protected the giant lizard, and the royal court had weakened the Green Swamp clan. The 3 beast kings had also profited greatly. No one had thought that this matter would develop into a happy ending. However, there were a few beast kings present who were truly happy. This was a big question mark. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, another 2 months had passed. Winter had completely ended. Other than the territories of the ice-type beast kings in the Hengduan mountain range, the last layer of snow had completely melted. The northern frontier now had 21 large-scale settlements, countless medium-sized towns, and small villages. The spring planting work had been completely completed, which also meant that the northern frontier had successfully attracted the refugees. Not to mention that the situation in the Xinwu dynasty had not stabilized yet. Even if it had, at least before this year's autumn harvest, they could forget about any of these refugees leaving the northern frontier. Lin Yuan lazily lay in the backyard of the northern frontier prince's mansion, basking in the sun. A dim light lingered in his multicolored eyes. No one knew what he was thinking, but the coldness in his eyes gradually spread. Hu Yen hurriedly rushed into the backyard and said with a gloomy face, "Something happened." Lin Yuan woke up from his thoughts and raised his head to look at Hu Yen. Lei Fan's death has been confirmed. It was done by the sect of the Blood Divine. Also, I heard that the Freedom Courtyard had wanted to move out of the northern frontier some time ago, but they were blocked by the sect of the Blood Divine. Both sides fought fiercely in the territory of the Freedom Courtyard. I heard that the Freedom Courtyard suffered a great loss. Master Kuhai lost an arm, Master Kushuan had his eyes gouged out, and even Master Kyuan was heavily injured. Hu Yan's face was unusually solemn as he slowly spoke of the information he had gathered. Cultivators of the Void Netherworld realm were already at the top of the world. At least on the surface, that was the case. The Xinwu dynasty had been established for several decades, and the number of Void Netherworld realm cultivators who died in accidents or were killed by others was less than 3. News of Void Netherworld realm cultivators being severely injured or crippled was unheard of. But now, there were 3 such cases in the northern frontier. Lei Fan's death did not come as a surprise to Lin Yuan. After all, Lei Fan was the one who orchestrated the massacre of the various sects in the northern frontier. The members of these sects hated Lei Fan more than they hated Lin Yuan. After all, at that time, Lin Yuan was still in the mystic territory and had yet to come out. In addition, the northern frontier king's palace and the demon emperor's assembly had gone silent, which made people feel that Lin Yuan had no intention of starting a war at this time. Hence, the blood debt fell on Lei Fan. Ever since the day the news of Lei Fan's death was released, and the empty tomb that Lin Yuan had prepared for him was dug up, he knew that the sects had no intention of letting the matter rest. He had thought that after not hearing any news of Lei Fan for 2 months, he would have escaped from the northern frontier to look for Lei Qiuming. He had not expected to hear news of Lei Fan's death today. However, Lin Yuan was not surprised. After all, with a few void netherworld realm cultivators leading the search for him, the possibility of Lei Fan escaping from the northern frontier was not high. Let's go. Lin Yuan rose into the air and said expressionlessly, let's go to the Freedom Courtyard and take a look. Let's see who is so powerful to be able to cause the Freedom Courtyard, a sect with 3 void netherworld realm cultivators, to suffer such a huge loss. Although Old Demon Blood Sea was one of the void netherworld realm cultivators in the northern frontier, but strictly speaking, Old Demon Blood Sea was definitely the weakest of the few. Not to mention Yan Xingqi, who was known as the strongest cultivator in the northern frontier, even Master Qiuwen could easily defeat Old Demon Blood Sea. But today, 2 of the 3 void netherworld realm cultivators from the Freedom Courtyard were injured and 2 of them were injured. The news that was released from this was really thought-provoking. If this was not a show that the Freedom Courtyard and the sect of the Divine Blood Sea had orchestrated, then the sect of the Divine Blood Sea should have colluded with some incredible existence. It might even be one of the sects that he had seen from the information in the secret territory. If it was really such an existence, then the matter had already reached a point where Lin Yuan could not control it. It was even possible that the entire northern frontier could be overturned by the other party. Lin Yuan could not help but be cautious. Lord Demon Emperor, please wait. Hu Yan took a step forward and stood in front of Lin Yuan, and said with a cold face, from what I can see, the sect of the Divine Blood Sea is obviously provoking us on purpose. Especially Lei Fan's corpse, which was openly hung outside the mountain gate of the sect of the Divine Blood Sea. There must be a secret behind this matter, I think. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.